A man lies in his bed, exhausted and feeling helpless, remorseful about his decision to join the current company he is working with as a mid-career hire 3 years back. He thinks to himself about the uncertainty of his situation and what he is doing with his life. He sells people instant weight loss portions, deceiving the people who buy them, and deceiving himself by selling his morals along with it. As he looks at the television, the headline of some man going bankrupt shows up. This headline was scary to him as he has a steady job, so he thinks to himself about who this man is who lost faith in the world. He lies there in disappointment, demanding to take him away. He does not care about anything anymore, he just wants to step into another world. Meanwhile, in the ancient ruins of Artelphia, a beautiful girl exclaims, "Amazing." She never thought that they could find a human relic in such a perfect shape. She shows gratitude towards Dex, the cat, for staying with her all this way. She was shaking in her shoes when the others collapsed, and only 2 of them remained. When Dex hears this, he laughs away. Furthermore, Dex continues to ask her about her findings till now. She replies with a strand of hair in her hand, and hence points out that this is a discovery of historic importance. Dex is in awe of her work, so he asks to take a closer look at the relic thingamajig. She agrees to let him have a closer look, but demands that Dex handle it with care, as this relic will eventually be the most valuable article in the royal treasury. Dex is bewildered by the sight of the strand of hair as he says that this is from ancient times, and now they are all extinct. As the girl looks through other artifacts, Dex suddenly gives an evil laugh and refers to the girl as his boss. He looks greedily at the strand of hair, stating that she should be more suspicious of people. He lashes out with anger, saying he has had enough of following her around everywhere. The girl is extremely angry and disappointed because Dex is betraying her. She tells him that he is very immature for doing that. Dex swallows the strand of hair, leaving the girl in shock and furious. The strand of human hair gives so much power to Dex that he becomes big and exclaims that he can feel the power coursing through his body. He is amazed by the human power. The girl is extremely concerned as she asks Dex about his actions of swallowing the human hair as it was a precious item. Hence, Dex replies that he knows it is precious and therefore will use the power that came from it to become the king of the world. He grows bigger and more muscular with fire inside him. The girl is furious, so she decides to use her powers to fight as she has been left with no other choice. She attacks with a burning bullet, but Dex instantly counterattacks, making the girl's attack useless. As the girl witnesses this scenario in front of her, she thinks to herself about the immense power of the human relic and that just one strand of hair had this much power. Therefore, how powerful could humans have been while they were alive? The girl is frightened of the power Dex possesses. Suddenly, Dex and the girl look at the sky, and something is falling from the sky, leaving them both confused. It falls to the ground, causing a minor explosion. Human-like legs can be seen on the thing that fell from the sky, leaving Dex and the girl flabbergasted. Turns out it was a human, and he wonders where he is because the last time he remembered, he was sleeping in his bed at home. Then he confusingly thinks it is a dream, but a very realistic one. Then suddenly, Dex appears in front of him, leaving him scared as he yells, "What the heck is that?" However, Dex asks him, "What's your deal?" As Yuji is filled with fear, he replies with a stuttering voice that he is just an ordinary human, which leaves both the girl and Dex astounded. Yuji thinks to himself, "What did I even say? I must be an ordinary human." Then he realizes that since he doesn't have cat ears and a tail like Dex, he can pass for an ordinary human, making it the best response in his eyes. Dex replies in a confused tone, "A human?" Filled with rage after hearing that, Dex yells at Yuji, asking if he's trying to mess with him. On the other hand, Yuji is confused and scared, so he asks if there was something offensive in what he said. Dex, blinded by rage, brings out his powerful fist to punch him. Luckily, Yuji manages to stop the attack, leaving Dex furious. He asks how Yuji managed to stop his attack. Yuji, who was scared, continues to ask what is going on, and what could this be. At first, he thinks it's a movie with Dex as the bad guy and the girl as the cute heroine. When he's hit with such momentum, he realizes it didn't hurt at all. He considers it might be a prank or a dream about a film. He thought that if it were a dream, it would have been great. Dex tells him he was just playing a prank. So Yuji realizes that this might be the world he wished for earlier. Even though he didn't want to become a movie protagonist, he decides to launch an attack, which tosses Dex into the sky. As he looks at what he has done, he enchants himself, saying, "Nice stunt, my dude." The girl is in awe of his attack and tells him it was incredible. On the other hand, Dex groans and pants with fear. So Yuji yells, asking if they are still fighting, but Dex is now confused. Yuji is adamant to fight, but Dex runs away. So he thinks to himself that he probably won't remember this. The more interesting the dream is, the more likely one forgets about it. Hence, this is a vivid dream for him, even though his senses are sharp and he feels completely lucid. But then he thinks if this is a real movie shoot, and if it is, the set is pretty amazing. Then suddenly, he hears a voice saying, "Human-sama." It was the girl. She thanks him for saving her life. So Yuji asks her who she is. She apologizes for the late introduction and introduces herself. She is an elf, and her name is Ria. It was a fateful encounter in another world. So Yuji introduces himself in return, telling her that his name is Yuji, and he is a human, Emizaki Yuji. Ria was amazed and pleased to meet him. She continues to tell him that she is so moved by making his acquaintance and asks him if he is an actual esteemed human, to which Emizaki Yuji is confused. So he tells Ria that something is strange, and Ria asks him what the matter is. As Emizaki Yuji looks at Ria, he thinks to himself that as he looks at her closely, those ears don't seem artificial, and no cameras are to be seen around, and she keeps saying mysterious things. Therefore, Ria asks Emizaki Yuji if she can express her gratitude again for his help, and who would have thought that a human relic holds that much power, and that consuming it would be able to empower someone so much. On the other hand, Emizaki Yuji is extremely confused and tells Ria that he has a few questions. He continues to tell her that he has been summoned to another world, and it is a lot for him to take in so suddenly as well. At the very least, it appears that his world and Ria's world are entirely different. So basically, Emizaki Yuji is summoned into a fantasy world with swords and magic, and therefore he used to read and fantasize about similar stuff. Hence he asks Ria if she is telling him that in her world, humans like him are legendary beings, to which she replies, yes. She continues to tell him that for them, humans are known as an ancient and mighty race, and they are absolute beings who are worshipped by many religions. Hence, Emizaki Yuji replies that according to him, he always thought elves were a higher class than humans who specialized in magic and high intelligence. They were balanced, jack of all trades, masters of none. Moreover, Ria calls him Yuji and tells him that here in Artelphia, he is an absolute being, so much that she was betrayed by a subordinate over a strand of human hair. So Yuji sympathizes with her, saying that it must have been tough for her. As Ria thinks about Dex's betrayal, Yuji asks Ria about the kind of lifestyle he should lead here if a small part of his body causes such an uproar. How would he walk around town? To which Ria replies that if the world were to learn about the existence of Yuji, he asks her what would happen. Being summoned to a different world was ridiculous enough for him. He won't be surprised by much more anymore. Hence she aggressively tells him that it would no doubt lead to an all-out war between every country, as they would want to seek Yuji's power, and they would go too far. When Yuji hears all of this, he is in a state of confusion and asks Ria why they would do that. So she tells him that it's because those who get their hands on his power can rule the whole world. As she continues to give him more information, in Artelphia, the parts of humans are called relics and are used as tactical weapons, giving the example of Dex as the same thing happened to him. Therefore, if the existence of a living human were proved, it would most likely lead to the whole world being engulfed in the flames of war. This leaves Yuji utterly frightened, and he asks Ria about how he is supposed to live in this world, as he would like to live peacefully without any unnecessary fighting if at all possible, as he has no will to go back to the corporate slave life he had back home. If he has the opportunity to start a new life in a new world, he will happily take it, but he still wants to avoid being thrown into an outbreak of a world war. Hence, Ria tells him that there is one way. As Yuji hears it, he becomes excited. He thinks to himself that she will help him, and for now, he cannot appear in front of others carelessly, so for now, Ria is his last resort for help. He asks her, "What is the way? How can you help me?" Ria tells Yuji to build a place for himself where he can live peacefully. This idea bugs Yuji, so he asks Ria what exactly does she mean. She explains to him that in this world, humans are objects of worship, and at the same time, there are ruffians who seek the power of humans. Hence, he should build his own base to ward off external threats and gather skillful followers to prepare for attacks. Other than that, there is no way for him to lead a quiet, peaceful life. But on the other hand, Yuji laughs it off, asking Ria if she is kidding. She assures him that this is not a joke, not even in the slightest. So Yuji asks if there is a happier and more peaceful alternative, but Ria refuses and says there isn't one. Furthermore, she tells him not to worry and sits on his knees in front of him, urging him that if he would have her, she would like to volunteer to become his subordinate and swear eternal fealty to him. On the other hand, Yuji looks into the sky and realizes that the extinct humans and their strength were the reason why he was summoned into this world, and he had so many other questions roaming around in his head. Hence he thinks that with a cutie like Ria by his side, creating his place and living in peace is not such a bad idea. He was fed up with his lifestyle of deceiving himself and others, and he always wished for something like this to happen. Hence, Yuji leans his hands forward to Ria, saying that he will be in her care, and that he'll go to a world where he is needed by someone as he blushes. Furthermore, this statement makes Ria very happy as she enchants. Yes. Hence, this is the beginning of a new life for both of them. It was the beginning of a new life as Ria and Yuji held each other's hand in a beautiful valley. Yuji asked Ria about what they should do first. Ria was worried about what Dex was currently doing, but she told Yuji that their top priority should be to keep him hidden. They couldn't let the world know of his existence until he had established a base, so Yuji asked Ria about how he was supposed to keep himself hidden. She told him, right here, and led him toward a beautiful empty cave. They both stepped inside, and Yuji was amazed. He asked Ria about what this place was, and she told him that it was a hideout left behind by her grandfather. They proceeded to walk inside, and it turned out to be a huge tunnel. Ria explained that there were hideouts like this all across the world. Yuji replied, "Amazing." Ria went on to tell Yuji that her grandfather was a humanologist, and she imagined him in her head. She continued to explain that her grandfather was the kind of person whose life was always under the spotlight and would be targeted because he handled many human relics. Due to his work, he used to travel around and had to fight off ruffians who wanted to snatch human powers for themselves. Yuji thought to himself that humanologists of this world must be very tough. As they walked through the hideout, Yuji saw a lot of weapons, which left him astonished. Ria told Yuji that, for now, she thought they should make this hideout their temporary residence. Yuji agreed, but the only problem was that it had a single bed, so Ria told Yuji that he could sleep on the bed, referring to him as master, while she would keep guard at the entrance. She mentioned that she could do that with only 30 minutes of sleep a day as well. This amazes Yuji. He tells her, even when you get home late at night, you cannot fall asleep, and before you notice it's time for the morning commute. If you have the opportunity to sleep, you should. He remembers his former corporate slave days when someone used to say that, confusing Ria. She asks, "Master?" Yuji insists that she sleep on the bed, and he can manage on the floor, but Ria completely refuses. She mentions that she can never do something presumptuous, and her eyes make it clear that for her, it's like making a god sleep on the floor. As Yuji hears this, he makes a joke, suggesting they both sleep on the bed together. When Ria hears this, her entire face turns red, and her eyes widen in shock. She exclaims, "With the master?" Seeing how uncomfortable Ria got by his statement, Yuji apologizes and suggests finding another alternative. He thinks to himself that he went too far, and he didn't have any ulterior motives. It's just that the bed is wide enough, and if she sleeps on the floor, it would probably be cold. He was just making excuses in his head, though he's unsure why he was doing it. Ria agrees to sleep with Yuji in the same bed, asking if he's alright with it. She mentions that she will be in his care for years. They both agree, and it feels like they're a newly couple. Ria adds that it's okay to sleep together, but making her sleep on the floor was wrong. Yuji is confused when suddenly Ria moves closer to him and starts kissing him. She wants to move forward, asking for her master Yuji's blessing as she says, "Can I?" Furthermore, she tells him that they should also clean the place, and Yuji agrees. Moreover, as the night approaches, they both remain in the hideout having dinner. While Yuji peacefully enjoys his meal, he realizes that Ria is not doing the same. She sits there with a dejected look on her face, so he asks her why she's not eating. Ria replies that the jerky Yuji was having was the only food they have left. She explains that she will head out the next morning to hunt for more food. Yuji feels bad and offers her the jerky he already bit into, but she refuses. He insists, noting that if she is hungry, they both would be in trouble if enemies attacked. Ria hesitates but eventually takes it, thanking Yuji for his kindness. As she eats, suddenly her vision blurs and something strange starts happening to her. She puts her hand on her chest, experiencing pain and unable to speak. She suddenly grows bigger and feels a lot of power inside her as she glows. Yuji is worried and asks her what happened, but she can only yell with pain and is unable to explain. She realizes that it was the human's power, Yuji's power, which came from the saliva on the jerky he had bitten into. The jerky still had Yuji's saliva, leading to an increase in her magical power. Yuji ponders deeply, realizing that an indirect kiss with him empowered her so much. He considers that just one strand of hair had an amazing effect, so the effects of fresh saliva are even more immediate. Ria calls him master and enthusiastically tells him that her hunger has disappeared. Yuji is puzzled, thinking that humans are a bit too powerful in this world. Moreover, something looms close to the hideout. The next morning, Yuji peacefully wakes up, realizing that he had a good night's sleep, something he hasn't had in a while. However, he's suddenly confused when he sees Ria lying next to him. He jumps out of bed in a panic, then remembers that they are temporarily residing in Ria's grandfather's hideout. Ria is still calmly asleep, and Yuji recalls that they ended up sleeping in the same bed. As he stands there, he takes a glimpse of her breasts, thinking they are quite large, but quickly becomes disgusted with himself for having such thoughts. He calms himself down and decides to get something to drink before Ria wakes up. Suddenly, Yuji falls to the ground and exclaims, "What the heck is this?" His yelling wakes up Ria, who asks her master what happened. He points out a huge circular object, and Ria identifies it as a slime. Yuji is amazed to see that slimes in this world are much larger than he expected. Ria explains that these are the kinds of slimes that even fresh adventurers can defeat when they are smaller. Ria asks Yuji if he visited the nearby springs, and he confirms that he did because he was thirsty and needed water. Ria explains that the slime must have absorbed the water he drank, causing it to grow so large. Yuji is worried and asks Ria what they should do since they can't leave the hideout like this. Ria reassures him and asks him to step back. She calls the slime a weakling due to the power she absorbed from Yuji the previous night, making a slime's strength insignificant. Ria generates an attack and throws a burning bullet at the slime, causing a huge explosion that clears the entrance to the hideout. However, the slime reappears unharmed, disappointing Ria. She decides to launch an even stronger attack, but Yuji asks her to wait, believing that the slime may not see them as enemies as it hasn't attacked them yet. He starts talking to the slime, asking if it came to see him. The slime suddenly starts to move, making a sound like kyo kia. Ria initially thought it was going to cause harm, and she called out to her master. However, they both stand in amazement as the slime comes toward Yuji and sits obediently at his feet, displaying its subservience. It even sticks to Yuji's feet, making it hard for Ria to believe that it's a subservient monster. Yuji sits down and starts to play with the slime, holding its paws in his hands. He realizes that the slime understands what he's saying and decides to name it Lime. He tells Lime that it will be with them and expects great things from it. Ria is pleased, stating that Lime won't hurt them, and having another strong ally is a good thing. Both Yuji and Ria are in awe of the fact that they have taken their first step toward creating a peaceful home. Meanwhile, in the royal capital, Nisgard, a beautiful woman sits in a pool without her clothes with a melancholic expression. She thinks to herself, "Oni, are you looking at this same moon from somewhere else?" Suddenly, another woman approaches her and informs her of a mission. She needs to take command of the second scout squad and lead them into the old ruins, which the first scout squad, including Mia, seems to be investigating. The old ruins are to the west, near the Astra forest. The woman asks about what happened to one Sama and mentions that she smells trouble. Moreover, Ria is in the spring when she spots a duck in front of her, assuming it will be their dinner for tonight. Inside the hideout, Yuji is playing with Lime. Thanks to his human powers, Lime has gained a lot of energy. Yuji realizes that he must be careful as he needs to go out and learn about this world. As Ria and Yuji are leaving, they ask Lime to watch the house. They both walk into the jungle, and Ria uses her archer skills to hunt birds for dinner. With only one arrow, they manage to secure a meal. Yuji is extremely impressed by her skills, and he tells her, "Oh, you're pretty good at this." Ria modestly responds that it was nothing. She explains that she puts a little magic into the arrowhead, making it more potent, and she can also control it to some extent. With their successful hunt of a holo bird, known for its smooth and tasty meat, Yuji is in awe of Ria's skill and is grateful to have someone as reliable as her around. Therefore, they decide to gut the bird and drain its blood. As Ria guts the bird, Yuji watches with panic. Ria continues to tell him that depending on whether one drains the blood or not, the taste can be completely different. Yuji realizes that he is very glad to have Ria around. All his life, he lived alone and ate boxed food from the supermarket and convenience stores. Moreover, he suddenly has a glimpse of the sky and realizes there are 2 moons. He asks Ria if they have 2 moons, and Ria asks if he had only 1 moon in his world. He replies that yes, it was yellowish-white, and he had never seen a blue or red moon like this before in his life. When Ria hears all of this, she tells Yuji that she would love to have a peek at his world sometime. Yuji becomes silent when Ria says this, so she asks him what happened. He tells her that his world is not that nice of a place. Ria is surprised to hear this, but Yuji exclaims that he wants to learn more about the world he is currently living in instead and hopes they have a fun time living together. Ria becomes really happy and shows gratitude towards Yuji. Moreover, Yuji asks Ria if he could use magic as well. She tells him that of course he could because using magic means using one's magical energy to meddle with the principles of the world, and someone with Yuji's energy should be able to use powerful magic right away. Yuji decides that since they are out here, it would be nice if they bag some animal. Suddenly, Yuji's eyes lock with the sky, and he sees a huge creature, which turns out to be a sky dragon. Usually they are docile, but once every 100 years or so, one comes down and acts out. As Ria looks in front of her, everything is up in flames, which makes Ria sweat with fear. Yuji asks her if she is okay since she looks a little pale, but she tells him not to worry about her. She just felt a little dizzy for a moment. Moreover, Yuji asks her not to overexert herself. However, Yuji believes that for now, they should use some sort of magic on the dragon. Ria gives him pointers, explaining that when using magic, he should imagine what he wants to use it on and what he wants to do with it. Using an incantation can help him visualize better. Yuji thinks to himself that incantation is not a requirement per se, but since it is his first time, he should try doing it the way Ria said. So he yells, "Burning bullet," pointing towards the dragon, but he is disappointed as nothing comes out. Then suddenly, Ria asks Yuji to look up in the sky. Yuji's face was sweating with fear as he looked up in the sky. The dragon was seriously damaged, and it had lost consciousness as it was falling to the ground. Ria was amazed as it's impossible to take down a sky dragon from this distance, but Yuji did it. On the other hand, Yuji was uncertain about his actions. He did not know how he did it. He tells Ria that if he were to use this magic on an animal, Ria replies that the entire area would have been turned into a burning wasteland. Therefore, Yuji was glad he did not use his magic on any other animals. Hence, Yuji realizes that it is best for him not to use any magic. Ria tells him that, in that case, there are items that could suppress his magic. Suddenly, another incredible thing happens when Ria shows Yuji that the blue moon had disappeared. This came as a shock to Yuji, as his powers destroyed the moon. At first he thought Ria was joking with him, but it was true, and Yuji becomes worried that this would seriously affect the ecosystem. So Ria explains it to him, and she tells Yuji that it was the moon's fault. It was too brittle, and there was nothing for him to worry about. However, Yuji believes Ria, and they both get back to finding something else to hunt, deciding not to think about it too much as they bid farewell to the moon. Moreover, Ria and Yuji are done hunting. Therefore, they cook their meal outside the hideout and have a faintly lit dinner, which tasted amazing as always, says Yuji. As Ria hears this, she tells him that she feels happy to hear that coming from him. However, 3 days had passed since they came to the hideout. Yuji thinks to himself that he was imagining all kinds of catastrophes that might come because of the destruction of the blue moon yesterday. But nothing really happened, and due to Ria, they had plenty of food, so life is peaceful. Furthermore, Yuji is looking at Ria and realizes that she is pretty, kind, and attentive. He wished that he had a wife like her who would welcome him home every day and let him relax at night. As Yuji was in his imaginary world, Ria calls him and asks him what's the matter. So he blushes and tells her that he was just thinking about things like why he could not use magic back in his world. This was also strange for Ria as she believed that magic is an innate power every living being has. Hence it was strange to think that magic itself doesn't exist just because it is another world. Turns out Ria started to think too hard, to which Yuji apologizes as he lewd his thoughts. But Ria is still not done and explains that this is merely a hypothesis. She asks if it is possible that the Earth Yuji came from, the planet itself, was composed of dark matter. Yuji was uncertain, so he asks Ria what she meant by dark matter. So she tells him that it is a material that absorbs and thus nullifies all the nearby magic. Ria further emphasizes that it is rare, but they do collect some even in her world, so Yuji asks her if it is some kind of ore. It sounds like it is somewhat different from the dark matter he knows about. Dark matter, a hypothetical type of matter within the universe, which is said to possess mass but cannot be directly observed. Hence, Yuji comes to the conclusion as he sips his tea that if there was something as dark matter on Earth, it does make sense as he could not use his magic there. Moreover, at this point, there was no way for him to confirm it. However, as Yuji stretches, he decides to take a walk as he was overdosed with food. So he informs Ria that he will go out with Lime for a while, but Ria tells him that she has something that she would like to ask him. She continues to ask him if she could have a human relic. This leaves Yuji in a state of confusion, so he asks her what brought that up. Ria replies that she believes that as his follower, she is still weak, and she wishes to become stronger by his relic. Yuji agrees and decides to give her the strands of his hair, but she refuses and clarifies that this was not what she meant. She meant directly, she wanted it mouth to mouth. Yuji is extremely confused, but Ria explains to him that through this way, the absorption of magic would be more efficient. However, she further emphasizes that Yuji doesn't have to if he does not want to. She didn't want to force him to lock lips with her. As Yuji hears this, he gets excited as he never thought he would get a chance to kiss a cute girl like this. He exclaims "Booyah!" and tells Ria that if she is okay with it, he doesn't mind. Moreover, Ria comes on Yuji, and they both start kissing, and she doesn't stop. They both fall to the ground while kissing. Well, Yuji exclaims to Ria that she is coming on too strong. As she stops, she tells Yuji that he tastes really good and that she can feel the power twirling inside of her. Hence, she starts to act strange, so Yuji asks himself if human saliva has an aphrodisiac effect. As she doesn't want to stop kissing and asks for more, Yuji agrees and decides that whatever happens, happens. Meanwhile, on the other side, in the royal capital of Misgard, everyone is talking about the destruction of the moon, and they think it is done by the demons. They think the demons are rebelling and whether they are safe in the capital or not. As Kazuo-sama looks outside the window, he asks if it is the demons doing after all. As the steward walks into the room, Kazuo-sama asks him if he learned anything new. The steward tells him that there are complaints from the public that Sabane is causing trouble again. Kazuo-sama asks the steward to ignore him as now is not the time for that. Furthermore, he asks if the second scout has still not returned. Furthermore, as Rosetta walks in, she spots the night captain. Moreover, she reports to Kazuo-sama that she, Rosetta, of the 2nd Scout Squad, has returned from the mission. Kazuo-sama is surprised to see Rosetta as he exclaims, "Rosetta, you're finally back." He further asks her about the results. She tells him that she was unable to find any regalia, but she did find something. It was a strand of hair. As Kazuo-sama looks at the strand of hair, he thinks to himself, could it be a relic? It's mysterious as he can feel the magical power, unlike anything he has ever seen before. Moreover, Rosetta believes that this relic is not the one that humanity left behind millennia ago. Kazuo-sama is shocked, so he asks her if she believes there is a survivor. She explains that currently, she doesn't want to go too far, but she believes that if there is a survivor of the human race, there might be another explanation for the moon's destruction. According to ancient beliefs, it is said that the downfall of the humans was brought upon them by their overwhelming power. Therefore, it might be easy for them to destroy the moon. Moreover, Rosetta asks for the Knight Captain's blessing for further investigating the ruins. The Knight Captain figures that this was about Ria. Rosetta agrees to the Knight Captain, saying it was, as most of Squad 1 fell to the beasts in the forest, but the corpses of Dex or Captain Ria were not found. Hence, there is a slim chance that they both got injured and are hiding somewhere while recovering. But the Knight Captain explains that they have much bigger problems to deal with right now. However, he also realizes that it is hard to change Rosetta's mind once she decides on something. Dex and Ria are two distinguished people that the Knight Captain would hate to lose. So the Knight Captain gives out instructions that Rosetta's efforts should be concentrated in the area near the ruins. If she finds a human, she will immediately return to report. Rosetta shows her gratitude towards the Knight Captain. Rosetta promises herself that no matter what happens, she will find Ria. On the other hand, Ria cannot stop kissing Yuji. Moreover, Ria starts to repent her decision for kissing Yuji for too long. Not only did she act so embarrassingly, she lost herself and gave in first. She covers her face, feeling shame, but Yuji keeps asking her to stop feeling this way. The kissing lasted for 10 minutes and ended with Ria passing out. It appears human body fluids have an aphrodisiac effect on other species. Hence, Yuji thinks to himself that if they had to do this every time she had to power up, she might lose control in a lot of ways. He bids her goodbye as he leaves for a walk with Lime. As he looks around, he finds a little girl there. This comes as a shock to Yuji as he asks her who she might be and where her clothes are. She makes the sound Q. This is the similar sound that Lime made, so he asks her if she is Lime. She makes the similar sounds again, which assures Yuji that it was Lime, and she calls him Master. Moreover, Ria peeps at Yoji from the hideout when she finds him with a naked girl, which makes her uncomfortable. She questions, "What are you doing with her?" However, Yuji takes Lime back to the hideout, and Ria helps dress her up. This comes as a surprise to Ria as well, but she has heard something like this before. If a monster absorbs enough power, they can take on a humanoid form, albeit rarely. Lime runs to Yuji and hugs him, believing that this happened because Yuji is so powerful. But Ria tells him that this is incorrect. She is not a girl. Yuji is extremely confused after hearing Ria, so he instantly thinks it was a trap. He continues to say, "That face is totally my type, but I really don't swing that way." But Ria clears it up that this is not what she meant. She explains the concept to him that slimes multiply by splitting into two, and the concept of gender does not apply to them. Hence, their gender is undetermined. Moreover, Ria explained that Lime must have realized that by taking such a form, she would instantly receive more affection from Yuji, which was very smart of her. Furthermore, Yuji asks Ria if she felt any different since she absorbed a lot of his relics, to which she replies that she for sure is feeling different. Her magical powers have already increased tenfold, and it was all because of Yuji. She also mentioned that her hearing and sight got a lot better because of this, and now she is able to notice trespassers much earlier. However, Yuji thinks to himself that Ria can feel her physical capabilities and magical power improving. But it's a shame that he didn't feel anything like that. Hence he asks her if he is that strong. Moreover, through Ria's improved capabilities, she could feel that they have uninvited guests already. It turns out Yuji could also hear the footsteps. Whoever it is, they are alone judging from the footsteps. It must be a man. Hence, Yuji asks Ria if he is strong, so she replies that he is a weakling, not even worth discussing. Therefore, Ria starts to keep him hostage here and not leave him here alive, as now he knows the location of their hideout. She is filled with rage as she yells, "The fool dares enter our holy sanctuary. I will make him feel the weight of his sins." As she decides to attack, Yuji asks her to stop and asks Ria if she could let him fight, as he wants to get a feel for how strong he is, and he believes that if he lets her fight, it would end in murder. She understands and lets him fight and advises him not to do anything dangerous as he leaves. The intruder is a man with cat ears who tells Yuji that he assumes Yuji is the resident of the cave. Therefore, he asks Yuji to leave his valuables behind and scram, only that way his life will be spared. This man looks extremely strong to Yuji. Moreover, Yuji realizes that this cave is where he belongs. Ria and Lime are still inside, so he refuses to surrender. Therefore, the intruder man decides to choose violence to make Yuji as he launches an attack with his sword. When he uses the sword, Yuji falls to the ground with fear and retreats as swords are too scary for him. The intruder man starts laughing and asks Yuji how long he can keep running. On the other hand, Yuji is uncertain as he wants to counterattack, but if he uses magic, he is scared that he would blow away the entire hideout. Suddenly, Lime comes in between and attacks the intruder. Turns out the savior was Lime. Lime acts as a savior for Yuji and protects him. Witnessing this, Yuji thanks Lime for saving his life, while Ria comes running from inside to make sure everyone was okay. Yuji tells Ria that it was all because of Lime. On the other hand, the intruder man looks at the three of them and finds it quite interesting that there was a slime in human form and a beautiful elf. These statements make Ria boil with anger. The intruder thinks to himself that the elf and the slime would make excellent slaves, or perhaps he could directly take them to a noble. Yuji, upon hearing all of this, is filled with rage and calls the man selfish. He gets so angry that he attacks the intruder man, and the attack is so deadly that a huge explosion happens, sending the man tumbling through the air to the ground. As the intruder is defeated, Ria thanks Yuji for saving her life. Both Ria and Lime come running to Yuji and hug him, applauding his performance. Moreover, Yuji asks Ria to do something for him. He asks her to heal the thief. They decide to hold the thief hostage. Furthermore, Ria again applauds Yuji for making her heal even a common thief like him. Yuji didn't let him die because he did not want him to die from his attack, and he might have some information for them. The thief wakes up as they are talking, still not ready to rest. He calls Yuji a beansprout and claims that he is not as tough as he used to be because he cannot be defeated by him. As he insults Yuji, Ria becomes filled with rage and starts to engage in a fight with the thief. Yuji asks her to calm down as he investigates the thief and asks about the purpose of his visit. The thief explains that his sister is suffering from an illness, and he needed the money for her medicines since his village is poor and she might not even live to see tomorrow. Upon hearing the thief's story, Yuji asks Ria if she could heal his sister with her magic. Therefore, Ria could not heal the illness with her magic, as she could only heal wounds, not illnesses. However, there was one way to cure the illness, and that was with a relic from Yuji. His magic had the power to cure any illness. Ria added that she didn't recommend using the relic, as they needed to keep themselves hidden, and sharing the relic could risk exposing Yuji's true identity. Yuji realized that Ria was right. They weren't prepared to reveal his powers and risk being discovered. However, he felt a strong desire to save Yuji's sister, just as he had wished to be needed by someone back in his world. He couldn't stand by and let her die. Ria understood his decision and promised to make sure the news wouldn't spread. Yuji plucked out a strand of his hair and gave it to the thief, Ada. Ada was excited because he knew that the strand of hair was filled with power. Yuji asked him to give it to his sister, and she would be cured. He also asked Ada to stop participating in banditry. Ada apologized for his actions and introduced himself as a member of the werebear living in the forest. With the relic in hand, Ada bid them goodbye, promising to repay them someday. Their first battle to defend the hideout ended in victory. The next day, Ada returned to inform them that his sister had indeed gotten better. He was extremely grateful for the help and came bearing gifts to show his gratitude to Yuji. Yuji was utterly grateful as well, and the werewolf village had become their ally. They decided to exchange strands of Yuji's hair for food. It became apparent that Yuji's hair could also be used as a substitute for Magistone, which was a necessity in this world. The lamp beside them also worked with Magistone. The price of Magistone had increased recently, leading to their village's impoverishment and subsequently, Ada's short-lived criminal career. Yuji had an instant solution to their problem. Strands of his hair, helping people made him feel good. Ria, on the other hand, felt bad that she hadn't tested Yuji's hair herself. Yuji asked Ria if she had made sure the information wouldn't get out when she went to the village with Ada. Suddenly, Ada began acting strange and quickly decided to leave. Yuji called after him, but he left. Ria reassured Yuji, saying that he didn't have to worry about word getting out. She had put a curse on every villager, forcing them to keep their mouths shut, so there wouldn't be a problem. Ria and Lime both looked at the tomatoes, finding them delicious. Yuji took an oath to himself that he would never upset Ria. Rosetta finally lands in the ruins, hoping to find Ria. On the other hand, Ria, Lime, and Yuji are having lunch. Ria introduces the idea of fending off intruders with traps, emphasizing the need to prepare for the possibility of more serious threats in the future. They decide to create pitfalls, and Ria decides to give it a try right away. Ria uses her magic to create pitfalls, and as she does, a shallow and perfectly finished pit appears in the ground. Lime and Yuji look at the pit and applaud her talent. However, they find that the ground is remarkably solid, as not even Yuji's magic could affect it. It seems there's not much they can do. Ria suggests adding poisonous elements to the pit, but Yuji disagrees, fearing that they might accidentally fall into it themselves. Ria agrees, and Yuji's expression seems quite concerned. Lime, meanwhile, continues to pull Yuji towards herself. Ria asks Yuji why he looks as if the world just ended. Lime is continuously trying to get his attention. Ria asks Lime if she wants to help with the traps, and Lime nods in agreement. Lime blows, and 3 more clones of Lime appear. This amazes both Ria and Yuji as they see the slime's cell division. Ria explains that she had heard that slimes can multiply by dividing into multiple parts when they store up enough magic in their bodies. In this case, due to Yuji's magic, the condition is fulfilled. Yuji jokes that they're basically his and Lime's children, which confuses Ria. She becomes furious and bends to the ground, saying that Lime had children with him before she did. Yuji is bewildered. Ria asks Yuji to make children with her, and she goes on about how she can divide her cells and they would have lots of friends. Yuji keeps asking her to calm down, but she doesn't listen and keeps talking about the possibility of having more slime children. Frustrated, Yuji decides to kiss her to try to calm her down. Ria asks him not to stop, and they continue kissing, becoming overexcited. Yuji picks Ria up and instructs Lime to have the slimes watch the entrance. He tells Lime that if they see any intruders, they shouldn't harm them like Ria does, but instead make them harmless. He knows that Ria tends to go overboard when it comes to protecting him. Yuji then places Ria on the bed and reflects on how everything she does for him, finding her infatuation with him cute. He wonders why she is so devoted to him and hugs her tightly. Suddenly, they hear Lime's voice, and Yuji thinks there's an intruder. The intruder turns out to be Rosetta, who has been attacked by the slimes. She is trapped in sticky and slimy fluid, unable to move. Lime is excited about successfully launching a counterattack and covering Rosetta in slime. As Yuji watches the scene, he notices that Rosetta's breasts are even bigger than Ria's. After finally managing to free herself from the slime, Rosetta catches Yuji looking at her and angrily asks him what he's gawking at. Yuji gets scared and embarrassed as he's been caught staring at her. He scolds Lime for going too far and attacking Rosetta. Rosetta continues to berate Yuji, demanding that he save her already, even in her current state. Yuji privately thinks that someone with so much attitude, even in such a situation, might be a big shot. Ria comes outside, smiling at Yuji, and she and Rosetta lock eyes. They both look at each other with amazement and happy tears in their eyes. This was a long-awaited reunion for Ria with her sister Rosetta. As Rosetta looks at Ria, she starts crying and expresses her belief that she knew in her heart that her sister was alive. Ria immediately asks Rosetta to put on her underwear, and Line covers Yuji's eyes to maintain some modesty. Ria introduces Rosetta to Line and Yuji. Though they are the same age, Rosetta joined the Knights 2 years before Ria, making her Ria's senior. Rosetta asks Ria to return to the capital with her, explaining that there has been a significant uproar since someone destroyed the moon. This news leaves Yuji petrified, as he had remained calm, thinking nothing significant had happened after the moon's destruction. However, Ria refuses to go back to the capital, citing her oath of fealty to Yuji, a human. Rosetta is in denial and doesn't believe that Yuji is a human, as she cannot sense any magical powers from him. Ria explains to Rosetta that Yuji is the only human in this world, and his power is so strong that normal people cannot sense it. On the other hand, Yuji whispers in Ria's ear, asking what a Numen is, and she tells him that they are a race of people who have inherited a high concentration of human blood. Numens do not possess exceptional magical powers, but their physical appearance is indistinguishable from humans. Therefore, if anyone saw him for the first time, they would think he is a Numen, which seems to be a convenient way to hide his identity. But Rosetta refuses to believe all of this without proof. Hence, she asks for proof from Yuji of being a human. He asks Ria if he should give her a strand of his hair as usual, but Ria believes that it would be going too far because the strand of hair contains too much magic. She asks him to put a finger inside Rosetta's mouth. Yuji thinks that she would get angry if he did that. Moreover, Rosetta starts yelling at Ria, asking her not to get too close to him, which was frightening for Yuji. But Ria tells him that Rosetta has a soft spot for her, so he should not worry about anything. Since it is Ria's idea, she will not mind. Furthermore, Rosetta continues to degrade Yuji, saying how is one even attracted to him as he is a suspicious guy pretending to be human. Ria asks the slimes to restrain Rosetta so Yuji could give her proof of being a human. Therefore, Yuji puts his fingers in Rosetta's mouth. She starts to lick his hands, and her loins feel on fire. Therefore, Ria urges Yuji that this much is enough. Hence, Rosetta finally understood what was going on and decides to believe Ria and Yuji. From his finger, Rosetta felt a mysterious infinite power. Ria asks Rosetta for advice, but Rosetta is also helpless as she was asked to report back as soon as she saw a human. But she decides to help her friend Noni and help them both. Moreover, then Yuji refers to Rosie, asking if she is sure she wants to help them by betraying the country. At first, Rosetta scolds Yuji for referring to her as Rosie, since only Ria can do that. Moreover, Ria believes that right now, all they need is information and supplies, and it would be best if they sent Rosetta to infiltrate the capital. Hence, she would be their spy. Moreover, Rosetta emphasizes that she will always devote her body and soul to Ria. Ria asks Rosetta to report back immediately if she finds out what Dex is up to, as he is the biggest threat to them right now, knowing about Yuji's identity and being powered up from his relic. Moreover, Ria gives one last warning to Rosie about how she addresses her master, Yuji-sama, or else she would find herself dead by Ria's hands. Moreover, Rosie applauds sarcastically to Ria, saying, "Ah, such an exhilarating murderous aura. You're great, Wani." Rosetta then hugs Ria again as she has her quirks too, so Ria wonders if those knights are full of weirdos. Moreover, Dex, on the other hand, is losing all of his powers, and it turns out he needs more relics. Moreover, someone in a cape shows up, saying, "Has the man once called the divine blade fallen so low?" This scares Dex as he takes his position to attack and asks who the person in the cape is. Moreover, the person in the cape is named Groz, and he is a mere demon king. Hence he asks Dex that there is no need for him to brandish his blade. He tells Dex that he has been researching humans for a long time. He has a jar in his hand, so Dex asks if there are relics in that jar. However, the Demonkin explains that he is only here to make a peaceful deal. The Demon King offers Dex drugs that are similar to human relics, which makes Dex crazy, and he obsessively asks for the drugs again and again. In return, he wants Dex to kill the man named Amazaki Yoshi. As they are engaged in their intimate acts, their voices are heard from outside the cave. When Yuji asks to stop, Ria gets upset and sits in the corner. Yuji goes to her and consoles her so that she does not faint again, but she says that she wanted to kiss more. She says that she is addicted to Yuji and wanted to be with him forever. This makes Yuji embarrassed, and he starts banging his head. Meanwhile, Ade comes in looking for Yuji. He thinks that she's here to get more of his hair, but she says that she wants to get some advice from him. She tells him that her little sister is acting strangely, and she's been agitated and absent-minded, and that she has never been so restless before. She says that she's worried about her. Meanwhile, Ria says that it could be because of withdrawal symptoms, and Ade gets very frightened after listening to her. She adds that relics can contain addictive substances, so it can lead a person to scratching off their skin from stress when they stop consuming it, and it could even lead to death. Ade gets very upset after listening to this, and Yuji calms her down. He says that if his relics were dangerous, then Ria would also get sick. They go to Werebeer's village to see how she is doing. Yuji finds the environment very lively over there. Ade thanks Yuji for mixing his hair into a fertilizer as it really improved the village's apples and tomatoes. Yuji feels accomplished after listening to this compliment. She shows Yuji a big house and tells him that this was her house and that she was the chief of the village. As they enter the house, Ade's sister is angry and says that you are late. Ade introduces her to Yuji, but her sister said she told you not to bring random guys home. However, when Ade tells her who he is and that he saved her life, she gets on her knees and apologizes for being rude. As they continue talking, Ade's sister suddenly goes somewhere, and when she comes back, she is dressed in fancy clothes. Ade reminds her that these were the clothes she kept locked, saying that she would only wear them when she would have a boyfriend, but she says that these are just my regular clothes. She asks Yuji to make himself comfortable and leaves to prepare dinner. As soon as she leaves, Ade asks Yuji if it was really the relic that is causing this. Yuji says that he can see why she's worried about her. After some time, they all gather around for dinner. Yuji and Ria are amazed at how good the food looked. Meanwhile, Ade's sister says that she put all her skills to use for them and asks them to taste the food. Yuji really likes the food and says that you will be a good wife someday. She gets very excited, but Ade doesn't like what Yuji just said. Then she asks Ria if she also likes the food, and she also says that it's very tasty. When everyone leaves, Yuji says to Ade that he thinks Ria met her sister before when she came here, and apparently, she casts some curse on the villagers to make sure they don't leak information about him. He asked her if Ria had been there before. Ade is shocked after listening to this and drops her spoon on the floor. She says that she suddenly feels sick, and she will go to her room so that she can lie down for some time. As she leaves, Ria asks what could have happened to her, but Yuji also has no idea. Soon after dinner, Ria tells Yuji that she will walk around the village a little to check whether her curse is still working or not. He warns her to watch out as it was dark outside. As she leaves, Yuji goes to Maria's room to check up on her, as Ade asked him to. He asks for permission and then gets in. She tells him that this is a girl's room and apologizes for putting her clothes on the chair and offers him to sit on the bed. Yuji thinks that something smells sweet. He starts thinking of it as this was his first time in an adolescent girl's room. As she interrupts, he tells her that he needs to check what's wrong with her and asks her if something is on her mind. She tells Yuji that she loves him. Yuji gets very shocked listening to this and screams, "What?" Upon being asked again, she repeats that she loves him. Yuji gets very shocked listening to this. She says that her heart starts pounding whenever she thinks of him, and it's like she's not herself anymore. She adds that she knows that Ade is worried because of this, but she cannot help it. Yuji starts thinking what it is, and suddenly his brain lights up, and he realizes that it's love. He understands that Maria has been acting strangely because she's in love. He starts crying, thinking how sad it is that he didn't realize it because no girl has ever been in love with him before. He asks her why she feels that way. Maria tells him that she has a dream to become a fashion designer in the capital. He asks her if she also designed the clothes that were in her room. She says yes and tells him that they are so popular that they sell out in seconds at the capital bazaar. Maria adds that she is confident in her knowledge and passion when it comes to clothes. She also tells him that most of the clothes were designed by humans long ago. She says that she always helped the people who made such clothes in great respect, and she revered humans almost like gods. She tells him that when she heard that it was a human who cured her illness, she felt fate's hand at work, and after meeting Yuji, she's sure about it. She adds that she really loves Yuji. Yuji listens to all of this in a state of shock. Before he could begin speaking, she adds that she still doesn't want to force him into any commitments. Maria says that she knows that Yuji already has Ria and that she's way out of his league, and she gets very upset saying this. Yuji tells her that he and Ria are not like that. After listening to this, Maria raises her dress and says that she's ready to be his mistress at his service whenever he needs her. Yuji covers his eyes and tries to stop her, but she still undresses. As Yuji looks at her, he realizes that her undergarments are the same as they were in Japan, so she was right. As he gets out of his thoughts, he finds Maria on his lap, and she says that he can stop her if he does not want her to do what she is doing. Maria looks him in the eyes and kisses him. She enjoys everything that is happening and removes her clothes. She stares at Yuji, and before she could say anything else, she kisses him once again. Maria enjoys it so much that she starts screaming and her voice can be heard from outside her room. This is when someone hears it and calls her. Yuji puts her in bed and feels ashamed. Maria cries and says that she can't even service him in bed. She feels like Ria has some sort of intimate relationship with Yuji. Yuji consoles her and asks her not to feel so down, and he thinks that she just wants him to thank her for curing her. So he asks her if she could make some clothes for them. Maria gets very excited after listening to this and shouts that she will do it. She says that nothing could make her happier than using her skills to serve Yuji. Yuji also asks her if there is something she would like him to do in return. She gives a naughty smile and says, "We will see." Yuji gets a little scared of this expression from her. She then kisses him again and says that she will take a few kisses from him as her reward. Yuji again gets very shocked and blushes at the same time. The next day, Line wears a fancy dress and shows it to Yuji and Ria. While Yuji compliments her, Ria asks if this was what Maria had made. Ria asks if they should repay her somehow, but Yuji says that he already took care of that. Later, Maria was designing some clothes in her room while calling Yuji's name. Adai sees this from the door and thinks that she's acting strange again. Yuji is suddenly confronted by a strong flash. It was very bright, so he covered his eyes. All of a sudden, it gets dark, and he wonders what that was. Suddenly, he accidentally lifts Ria's dress to check. He gets scared and apologizes to her, saying it wasn't on purpose. Ria tells him not to worry as it was a harmless accident. Yuji gets very embarrassed and thinks, how did this even happen? Listening to Line's command, they start digging around the hideout, and then suddenly, there's a bright light. After that, they find themselves in a place, and they don't know how they got there. Ria suggests that he might have touched a teleportation device buried underground. She adds that they must be somewhere under the hideout. Yuji gets frightened and asks why such a place is underground. Ria approaches the wall, and after touching it, she says that it's made by Imperials, which is not available to their current civilization. Yuji asks if it was human-made, and Ria replies with yes. She suggests that humans might have lived there once. She adds that maybe he couldn't dig deeper back then because there was something like this underground. Yuji asks if she has heard anything about this from her grandpa, but she says that she has not. Yuji suggests that there must be a reason he kept this place a secret from her. Maybe there might be something dangerous over there. Suddenly, they hear a beep from behind, which freaks everyone out. It is a huge golem. The golem considers them as intruders and initiates combat moves. Looking at the golem, Yuji understands why Ria's grandpa kept this place a secret, but he still couldn't understand what was the thing that made the beep. Meanwhile, the combat preparations are complete, and the golem starts intercepting the intruders as it attacks them. Ria tells him that it is a golem. Yuji doesn't know what a golem is, so Ria tells him that it is one of the weapons that humans made. She explains that golems are so powerful that just one of them could destroy a whole country, and no post-human has ever beaten a golem. Before the golem could attack any further, both of them start running. Suddenly, Yuji goes to face it, thinking that he's a human, while the golem is just a human-made thing. Ria gets in and asks him to step back. She then throws a burning bullet at the golem. When the golem is not affected at all, Ria realizes that it has an anti-magical shield. Yuji gets confused as he doesn't know what it means, so Ria tells him that it is a device that humans made, and it completely repels magic. Yuji says that he never thought a golem would be equipped with such a shield. He thinks that the golem is more dangerous than usual, and it renders magic useless. Yuji gets very hopeless and tries to run from there. The golem attacks them again, but Ria uses her magic to create an ice shield around them. The golem detects the ice shield and starts neutralizing it. In front of the golem's power, Ria finds it very difficult to maintain the ice shield. Yuji suddenly notices an emergency shutdown button and runs to press it. Watching him approach the golem, Ria gets worried, but he still manages to press the button. The golem terminates the combat. Yuji cries with happiness and says, "We are saved." As Yuji returns to Ria, she hugs him and acknowledges him as her new master. Suddenly, they both see a girl but don't recognize her. The girl calls Yuji her master and says that she is grateful that Yuji awakened her from her slumber. They both realize that the golem had turned into a girl and get very surprised. The girl introduces herself as Kazumi. She said that she was one of the golems who were given the task to guard the first floor of the hot springs area. Yuji and Ria are very amazed as they realize they were in the hot springs area. Kazumi tells them that the hot springs were in underground ruins. She says that this floor was made so that Cassie-sama could enjoy the hot springs. Yuji asks who Cassie was. Kazumi told him that she was the human that made her. She added that Cassie was a genius inventor, but she hated humans. She told them that Cassie made this underground facility to deal with the boredom of everyday life and the golems to protect the place. Out of fear, Yuji asked if there were more golems like her around the place, and she said yes. Kazumi says that there should be 4 other golems around who must be guarding each floor of the place. Yuji gets scared, thinking that they will have to fight more golems if they want to proceed any further. Ria asked how they kept the water warm around the place. Kazumi told her that the machinery over there is operated by magic excreted from a human body, so as long as Yuji is around, every machine should work fine. For a moment, Yuji thought if human power could do anything, but at this point, he was ready to accept almost anything, so he believed it. They asked if they should make this their base, and Kazumi asked if the hideout above the ground was supposed to be temporary, and they agreed. Yuji told Ria that she would need enough might to stand up against countries to live in peace, but Ria said she knew that they would have to leave it eventually. Yuji suggests that the place looks defensible, and the golems are amazingly strong, so it's faster to get one golem on their side and collect thousands of allies. Ria says that she understands, and what Yuji said makes complete sense, so she will go up and move their stuff down. Kazumi shows her the way upstairs. Yuji thought that it's good that Ria agreed because it would have been difficult to find another place with such a great hot springs facility. He also liked his current lifestyle and won't easily let go of that peaceful lifestyle. As Yuji gets out of the toilet, he thinks of having a hot spring and a massage. Kazumi gives him a really good massage and he likes it a lot. He thinks that this is the stuff that would never make him want to leave. Kazumi tells him that 80% of her body is made up of massage functions, and all the golems made by Cassie had their own expertise. He's very amazed as he realizes that only 20% of her body was made for battle, and she was still so strong, but she tells him that out of the 20%, 18% is for communications, and only 2% is for battles. Yuji thinks that maybe he should not explore the other floors after listening to this. Soon after that, Yuji tells her that he wants to drink milk coffee. Kazumi acknowledges his request and asks him to wait. Then she brings a jar and gives it to Yuji, saying that Cassie would also request milk coffee after finishing her bath. As Kazumi opens the jar, a strong smell comes out of it. Yuji tells her how bad the smell was and asks what it was coming from. Kazumi told him that the coffee was preserved for 10,000 years. Yuji decides to go back and shower again to refresh himself, and since there were so many pools, he wanted to try a different one. Suddenly, everyone calls him from behind and wanted to bathe together. Yuji gets very shocked as he sees Ria. He says, "We agreed to take turns because there is no separation between the men and women's bath," and asks her why she was there. Ria replies that she just thought that it was her duty as a servant to wash her master's back. She asks if it is too much, but Yuji agrees and lets her do it. He says that it's just part of the job and there is no sexual tension in it. However, Yuji still finds it difficult for himself to resist. Suddenly, Ria finds Yuji looking at her chest. She moves around, sits down, and apologizes, saying that her chest is very ugly. Yuji says that it's not true and that her chest is very attractive. After passing this comment, he realizes that it will make him look like a pervert. but Ria thanks him and says that it's kind of him to say so. She had never thought that she would be praised about it. Yuji asks if a small chest was popular in their world, and Ria replies, saying that all women in this world like their chest to be small, and the one with a bigger chest is considered stupid and indecent. Yuji thinks that the standard of beauty changes as the world changes, but he doesn't care about it. As Yuji uses slang about a woman's chest, Ria drops the shower and says that this is the first time she has heard it. She adds that her master is a kind gentleman. She thought that Yuji just improvised those words, but he tells her that it's not true. She says that it's her honor that her master encourages and supports her like that. Yuji tells her that he actually likes bigger chests, so Ria asks him to look straight ahead until she tells him to stop. As they begin, Ria opens a tube that smells really good. She tells Yuji that you can only obtain this limited edition soap in the royal capital, but with limited membership. As she starts applying it, her towel drops and she starts applying it using her body. Yuji blushes and asks her what she is doing. She asks if it was unpleasant and says she thought it would be fine. Yuji says that it's not uncomfortable. In fact, he's glad. Suddenly, Yuji is aroused and Ria hugs him, saying that she's glad. She asks if she could wash his front too, and Yuji gets very surprised. This makes her think that he was lying about liking the big chest, but Yuji is thinking that if she washes his front like that, he won't be able to hold it together. However, Ria still proceeds. He starts thinking if she would be fine with that and if she likes him, but then he thinks that she respects him, probably because he's the only human in the world. He starts thinking that she likes him only because he's a human. Suddenly, they hear Lime's voice. Yuji asks her what she is doing there, but she doesn't look well and starts sweating. Suddenly, she vomits a huge amount of water and says that she drank too much of Yuji's remaining bathwater after he soaked in it. Lime still doesn't look well, so Ria suggests taking her to her room, and Yuji thanks her for it. Out of a sudden, Ria gets very nervous. She realizes that Yuji has done this intentionally so that they don't have to get involved physically anymore. Suddenly, a woman appears. She asks if the magic leaking out of your body is the same as that human. She asks them to tell all the information they have. Yuji and Ria are on a walk with Lime as the weather is nice. Suddenly, they hear a voice from the bushes. Yuji asks what that was. When they go to look, Rosetta is lying on the floor in a miserable condition with her clothes torn apart. Yuji asks her if she's okay, but she speaks of some voice. Ria approaches her and heals her with her magical power. Rosetta thanks Ria and hugs her. Ria asks her what happened to her, but she asks her to leave the place quickly. She tells them that Dex will be here soon. Yuji gets upset that Dex knows his new identity. Rosetta tells them that she encountered Dex at Mark's village, which was about 10 kilometers from there, and he seems to be wandering around looking for human magical power. It was only a matter of time before he found this place. Ria tells Yuji that the Bear Folks village is in danger. Their village uses the magic power of this area to revitalize itself, and it is very likely that they will be attacked by Dex. They leave Rosetta with Lime and run to save Milia and Ade. As they approach the village, it's already been attacked by Dex. When they run into Ade, they find her crying. She says that she's fine, but Milia was kidnapped. She tells them that he was terribly big and strong, a cat man. From the description she gave, they clearly understand that it was Dex. Yuji also suspects that he targeted Milia because she received the most human power among the villagers. Ria can see visible frustration in Yuji's eyes and hands. Yuji asks Ade if she knows where he went. She tells him that Dex went to the village church, and she was threatened to bring Yuji over there. As she starts crying, Ade implores him to save Milia. He consoles her and assures her that he will save Milia. Then Yuji makes sure that Ade has evacuated everyone from the village. Despite his fear, he knows he can't run away, as he's the only human being in the world. Ade hands him a ring, which she calls the Sealed Demon Ring. She explains that it has the effect of weakening his magic power to 1,000th of its initial strength. Yuji questions why he should weaken his power, and she tells him that if he uses his magic recklessly, the entire continent could sink into the sea. With the ring, they can limit the damage to only one village. Yuji agrees to wear the ring, opting to defeat Dex without relying on his magic. Yuji enters the church and finds Dex waiting for him. Dex informs him that he's been eagerly waiting. Yuji spots Milia tied up and hanging on a wall behind Dex. He reassures her that he's there to save her, and tears of relief well up in her eyes. Yuji mentions that Ria is a battle expert among the renowned royal knights, while he's primarily a magic power tank, so she can handle it. Rai throws a burning plate at Dex, but instead of getting harmed, He starts laughing and declares it's useless. Yuji and Ria realize that he's using an anti-magic shield, the same barrier that Kazumi employed. Yuji asks Ria to take Milia and escape while he prepares for battle. Yuji urges Ria to take Milia and escape, which she agrees to. Ria quickly moves to Dex's back and uses flames to cut the rope binding Milia. She grabs Milia and manages to evade Dex as she makes her way out of there. Dex acknowledges her escape, but emphasizes that he only wants Yuji. Yuji expresses his disgust with Dex's actions, and Dex boasts about his ability to transform into a beautiful girl. Yuji momentarily envisions a beautiful girl, finding himself oddly delighted before snapping back to reality and resisting such thoughts. Dex attacks Yuji, but he manages to dodge the attack. Yuji reflects on using what Ria had taught him, preparing to face Dex. He creates a massive fireball with his magic, thinking it's something Ria had taught him for cooking purposes. He throws the fireball at Dex, causing a huge explosion. However, Yuji is astonished when he sees Dex standing before him unharmed. Dex expresses his surprise at experiencing an inferno from a human and mocks Yuji's fireball. Dex then retrieves a small jar from his pants and mentions he didn't want to use it, but has no other choice. He consumes a magical potion from the jar, and his body undergoes a transformation, turning him into a monstrous creature with significantly increased size. This sudden transformation terrifies Yuji, and he sarcastically asks if Dex intends to start a great monster war. Yuji tries to use his fire magic to attack Dex again, but the ring he's wearing suddenly breaks. Dex declared that it was over for Yuji, and in a desperate situation, he was caught in Dex's claw, fearing the end was near. However, at that critical moment, Yuji recalled a memory of Ria and imagined the ideal living environment she could have because of him. This newfound determination filled him, making him realize that giving up was not an option. He summoned all his strength to break free from Dex's grasp. Upon freeing himself, Yuji looked around, but Dex was nowhere to be seen. He then noticed an explosion in the distance, leaving him both amazed and confused, wondering if he had won. Shortly after, Yuji was shocked to see Ria and Milia approaching. They explained that they couldn't stand still after hearing the explosion and apologized for not following his advice to run away. Yuji reassured them, realizing that his newfound strength, acquired in this world through magic, had enabled him to protect everyone. He was relieved that everyone was safe. Ria and Milia hugged Yuji, expressing their gratitude and appreciation. Adai, who came running, was overjoyed to see Milia safe, but quickly threw her away, scolding her for taking advantage of the situation. Yuji observed the intense but playful exchange between the two, recognizing that it was the resolution of their earlier conflict with Dex. With victory achieved, everyone celebrated the return of peace to their lives. After they have defeated the monster, a huge mess is created in the village. Yuji uses a wheelbarrow to clean the village. The girls also help him out doing it. After working for a while, he gets a bit tired, so he sits there and watches the village, thinking that it's pretty much done. He suddenly starts thinking that Dex attacked the village, but somehow the slimes were able to stop the fire. This is when Ria calls him from behind and comes to wipe off his sweat. He thanks her and thinks that he's helping to restore the village with Ria. He thinks that Dex attacked the village because of him in the first place, so he should take responsibility. After sitting there for a while, he gets up to do one final push to clean the village. As he gets up, Ria looks at the cloth that she wiped Yuji's sweat with and starts smelling his sweat out of it. Yuji turns around and asks her what is wrong, but she says nothing. Later, Yuji apologizes to Ade for destroying the church with his magic, but she asks him not to worry and tells him that they will just repair it. She also said that this time they will build a bronze statue modeled after Yuji, as there is no other god for them other than Master Yuji. She also told him that Rosetta was taking the lead of the Royal Knights and arrested Dex overdosed on relics, which has significantly deteriorated his intelligence and made it difficult for him to communicate with others. So there's no more fear of leaking any information, but they do feel a little sorry for him. Yuji starts thinking that how Dex got human powers and maybe he was another one like Yuji. He says that he has a lot to worry about, but for now he has settled things with Dex, so his peaceful days returned. Soon after that, Yuji finds himself lying on a bed with his hands and feet tied to the bed. Kazumi comes to him and asks if he's awake. He asks if she had tied him up, and she says yes. However, she tells him that it was Ria who ordered her to restrain his body. Yuji starts thinking why Ria would do it, and suddenly she comes in. He tells her that she has come at the right time and asks her what was going on with him. Ria apologizes for intruding. Suddenly, All the girls come to him, saying good morning. Ria tells him that it was the day of the training session that she had told him about beforehand. Yuji says that he does remember hearing about that, but he does not remember the details since he was half asleep, so he asks what he should do for the training session. Ria says that he does not have to do anything, he just has to lay down in bed, and he will be fine. He asks what kind of a training session it is where he does not have to do anything. Right after this, Ria kisses him. Yuji suddenly remembers what it was all about. It was training for Ria and the others, not for himself. All the other girls feel jealous of Ria, watching her do it. Ria asks all of them to get to work. She tells Yuji that they will strengthen their magic power as Yuji's guardians at the same time, and suggests that it is more efficient than strengthening each person. However, Yuji says that he cannot allow such a scandalous play. As Ria comes forward, he punches her. Then Lime approaches, and he asks her to stop as it tickles. Rose asks both of them to calm down. She says that she cannot kiss Yuji as she loves Oni. However, she is still forced to do something, so she licks his body. As they all lick him, he feels a lot of tickling and requests Ria to release him. However, she just kisses him in return. After that, everyone licked Yuji until everyone fainted. As Ria is kissing Yuji, Millie enters and asks if she can join as well. When Yuji allows her to do so, Ria gets a little offended, but before she could do anything, Milia was in Yuji's lap. As Milia goes on, Ria keeps thinking that she is the first wife. She calms herself down by thinking that she has already been spending her days like this lately. Suddenly, Milia says that Yuji's holy relics are so good that she could feel power surging through her whole body. She also says that her hair and saliva seem to have strong magical powers, and it seems possible to power up her companions by sharing them. She thinks that it's only to strengthen her allies, so there's nothing shameful about it. As they agree that there's nothing shameful about it, both of them start asking him for more, but Yuji stops them. When everyone gets tired, Ria asks if they should have breakfast, and Milia also likes the idea. Milia asks them to put on the sample after dinner as well. Yuji asks which sample she was talking about, but they keep it a secret from him. As they all leave, Yuji gets happy that he can finally sleep. As he tries to sleep, he keeps thinking about how delicious Millie's meal was and that he could sleep whenever and wherever he wanted to. He thinks that back when he had a job, he couldn't even imagine this happiness. Out of a sudden, someone calls him from outside the room and asks if they could come in. It was Millie outside, so he let her come in. As she opens the door, she asks Ria to come in. As Ria enters, she is dressed as a French maid, and she starts blushing as Yuji looks at her. Yuji also starts blushing watching her. Milia says that it is her new design, and she will be selling it in the Royal Capital Bazaar next week. She asks how it is, and Yuji seems to really like the dress. He likes the area between the skirt and knee socks the most. He thinks that even if everyone branded him a heretic, he would still like skirts forever. Suddenly, someone grabs his shirt and asks him to look down. It is Lime, who put on the same clothes and shows it to Yuji. He finds her cute but thinks, what kind of people would buy it? After listening to this, Ria walks away and Yuji asks her what the matter is. She says that for someone like her, this kind of dress is popular, so he realizes that she has probably never worn a frilly dress before. Yuji says that she looks great, and he thinks she looked cute. He repeats 3 times that she is cute with a constant smile on his face. Ria then excitedly asks Milia if she would sell her the clothes. She was so serious about buying the clothes that she said she could offer any number of gold pieces, but she just wanted her to sell her the clothes. Milia says that she cannot accept such a large sum of money, but Yuji suggests that she really liked the clothes. Later, Yuji gets a massage from Ria. She asks if it is good enough, and he says that it is just right. While getting a massage, he thinks about what a luxury it is to eat delicious meals, then sleep in his leisure time, and at night have someone wash his body and give him a massage. Ria asks him what is the matter. He says that lately he has just been feeling a little unsatisfied. Ria interprets that Yuji wants their relationship to advance beyond. She thinks for a moment and then removes the towel she had put on and asks Yuji to accept her humbling. However, Yuji said that he does not have enough adventure elements in his life at the moment. She confirms if he said adventure. Yuji says that he's not complaining about his current lifestyle. In fact, he always wanted to see other places, and now he is in another world. But he is scared that if someone found out that he is a human, there will be a big problem. Ria understands his problem and thinks about it. Ria suggests that they should go to the bazaar next week, so Yuji asks if it is alright. She says that they could find a way to conceal Yuji's presence here, and if she disguises herself too, it will probably be fine. Yuji apologizes for being selfish, but Ria is happy to fulfill his wishes and looks forward to it. Next week, when they are about to leave, he asks Kazumi and Lime to stay at home. As they stand on a cliff, Yuji asks Ria if it is alright for her to wait there, but Ria says that she has made all the necessary arrangements. Yuji believes her, but he wonders what kind of vehicle will come to a cliff like this. After some time, an Earthship flies over them, and Yuji is shocked to see it. As they look up, Rosetta jumps out of the airship. Rosetta jumps out of the airship and lands gracefully right next to Ria. Yuji thinks that Rosetta was floating a few moments ago. Ria asks her to stop clinging to her right after she came jumping from the sky, and Rosetta apologizes. Rosetta suggests that they should get going, but Yuji asks how they would get on the airship. She asks him to leave it to him. All of a sudden, all of them are lifted into the sky. She tells him that it was wind magic, and she just used it to descend as well. It seems useful to Yuji for moving around. Ria adds that if he were to use it, he would probably blow the entire continent away. Yuji is still amazed that she could manage to bring such a big airship, but then Ria tells him that Rosetta's family is one of the most powerful noble houses in the royal capital. Yuji starts thinking that if she is from such a respectable family, why would she join the royal knights? Yuji shows Ria the clothes she had asked him to prepare. She tells him that they will be arriving at the royal capital soon, so he has to change before then. Yuji is curious about Rosetta's situation, but he is more curious about the royal capital. As they reach it, they both thank Rosetta for the ride. She tells them that she had received a mission from the royal knights, so she couldn't go with them. But she hopes that Yuji will enjoy his first time in the royal capital. As they walk into the royal capital, Yuji is amazed to see it. There are all kinds of people with different appearances. Yuji realizes that this is a world where humans don't exist, but he has to be careful so he doesn't expose his identity. Ria hands a bag to Yuji. It is full of coins, and Yuji is very amazed to see this. He asks if all of them are real gold. Ria says yes and asks if there is a problem. Yuji replies that there is a big problem, but first asks where she got the money from. She tells him that it is mainly tax revenue from the village. Yuji thinks that the village is under his control, and most of the village's income is due to his relics, so it's appropriate for him to take a share. He felt very good finding himself in such a strong position. Yuji plans to use his money wisely. He plans on buying a weapon and approaches an old man with a beard. The man asked him if he was an adventurer. He said that he was not. The old man said that there was no way he could be an adventurer with that pathetic body, and he said he does not have a weapon to sell to such a weak person. Yuji said that he only wanted to have a look, but he thought that he was obstructing the old man's business. As Ria comes there, she was about to tell him who Yuji was, but he shuts her mouth and asks the old man to ignore her. Later, she got very upset and apologized for what she did, but Yuji knew that she was only trying to protect his honor. She felt like she had failed to be his servant. To divert her mind, Yuji asked her if she wanted to eat something. They went to a stall that sold skewers with mandala butterfly larvae, but Ria warned that it had an addictive cream inside it. They saw a few other things to eat as well. Ria asked him which one he would like, but he said he was not hungry. Instead, he asked Ria where she wanted to go. He wanted to take her wherever she liked, as a reward for her hard work, so she took him to a shop, an undergarments shop. She asked Yuji to choose something for her. Yuji said that it was embarrassing, and he did not know what to choose. However, he didn't want to refuse her, so he suggested something randomly. Ria got very excited that it was something Yuji liked, but he said he would only like it if he had to choose between liking and disliking. Then they saw a few other things and bought them as well, ending up buying everything that Yuji said was good. Soon, they arrived at the hotel where they would be staying for the night. They both looked at the hotel and started blushing. Yuji and Ira entered the room, which was purely pink, and there was a single bed with 2 pillows in the middle. They noted how amazing this was. Ira told Yuji that all the royal capital luxury inns are under the patronage of someone important. That's why it was more convenient to hide someone as humble as Yuji here. He said he understood. The two lay in bed. Yuji was initially surprised when Amos suddenly brought him to a love hotel. But if what she said is how it is, then perhaps they should stay there. Just because they're sharing a room doesn't mean there has to be sexual tension between them. They lay next to each other and tell each other goodnight. Yuji gets woken up as he once again thinks about no sexual attention, looking at Ira undressing. Standing before him, she bends over slightly, telling him that she wants to show him the underwear she bought earlier. She poses in it for him, wearing nothing but her underwear and a bracelet on her arm. She asks him what he thinks of it and if it looks good on her. Yuji gets up and hugs her, telling her that it is perfect for her. He apologizes, telling her that he can no longer contain himself. She thinks, jackpot. He pulls away as she tells him that she is glad he is finally interested in her. He thinks about how Ira had planned everything from the underwear shop to the love hotel. She gets on top of him as he thinks that if Ira wants it, then he needs to man up. She undresses, telling him that she would want to serve him first, asking him to relax. Yuji thinks that he no longer cares about the consequences and is going to give in to his desires. The sun rises as Yuji thinks about how last night went no further. Perhaps it is because among all the human relics, bodily fluids contain the most magical power, and Ira, a person who can kiss him without stopping for more than 10 minutes, fainted immediately when coming into contact with it. Ira openly greets Yuji, apologizing about yesterday. She tells him that even though she is the one who seduced him, she is worthless. He tells her that it is okay and that they should get used to it little by little. She looks back at him with an innocent look, almost crying at his response. Yuji notes that it was disappointing that his long desire to progress further did not happen last night. But it will one day with Ira. As they walk out into the street, they notice how huge of a crowd there is. Yuji hides himself as Ira tells him that the Royal Capital's fair is a big event that happens twice a year. As they walk through the streets, someone calls out to Yuji. He looks over to see a girl waving at him, asking if it is him. He calls out to her as Milia and looks at the long queue. He thinks about how he knew the clothes that Milia made were popular, but he did not think there would be so many people wanting to buy them. She humbly tells him that it is no big deal, as there are lots of brands more popular than hers. Milia excitedly tells Yuji that skilled couturiers from all over the country have gathered here today. She wants to make her mark at this fair, adding that it is the first step towards becoming a designer in the royal capital. She tells him this excitedly, with a smile on her face glistening. Yuji looks at the clothes room and notes that it looks like she's doing her best. Ira asks if she's selling the maid uniform that she wore. Milia tells them that, thanks to Ira, it is selling well, even though the kids' sizes aren't selling as well as she expected. Yuji thinks that he would be worried about this world if the kids' sizes did sell well. A man from the distance walks up, calling them commoners, and tells them to bring him all the child-sized maid uniforms that are left at the shop. Yuji wonders who the old man is. Milia tells him that he is troubling the other customers by cutting into line. The guard accompanying the old man calls her an imbecile. The old man says that he who holds the title of Marquis in Midgard's royal capital is Marcus Styburn Redstar. He adds that they need to get to it. Millie recognizes the Marcus, thinking of his name. Yuji looks at her and asks if she knows him. She tells him that he's a notorious nobleman in the royal capital, and rumors have it that he enjoys taking common women home by force to assault them. He's known as a bad man who abuses his power, and the women he targets have no choice but to accept. Milia is angry at the Marcus' behavior, but she knows that if she wants them to stay safe, she cannot afford to offend this old guy. The three look on, shocked, as the Marcus grabs the hand of the barefoot girl, noting that on closer inspection she is rather beautiful and that he likes her and will keep her as his slave from now on. The Marcus once again reiterates that he likes her and will keep her as his slave as the bear girl begs for him to let her go. Enraged, Yuji calls out to the Marcus, but Ira's hand blocks him. She tells him that she will take care of this and that he should stay away to keep them from discovering his identity. He puts on his heart as he watches Ira walk toward him stoically, with a look of determination on her face. She walks up to the Marcus and tells him to let go of the girl's hands. He asks her who she is, and she once again tells him to let her go. Enraged, the Marcus pulls out his sword and asks how dare she command him, striking at her with his sword and telling her to know her place. Ira quickly dodges the sword, bending down and lifting the hood off of her head. The Marcus notes that she is Ira, the demon warrior. Yuji thinks about how this is bad since the old man knows about his identity. While the women around them talk about how Ira is the youngest woman in history to lead the Royal Knights, and how they have always been a fan of her. They add that there's a rumor going around that she died, and they're unable to believe that she's still alive. Yuji stands there, thinking about how Ira is far more famous than he thought, as the crowd urges Ira on to give the Marquis a beating. He tells her that even if she is a knight, she's still just the child of a commoner and cannot oppose him. The crowd gets murmur, and he orders his guards to apprehend Ira, calling her an insolent elf as they charge forward, complying immediately. The guard approaches Ira, drawing his sword and lifting it above his head. As he brings it down to strike her, she suddenly disappears. He looks around, searching for her, and finds her standing at the edge of his sword. She notes that she doesn't even need to use the power she received from her master. She looks at the guard, telling him that they should not feel bad. They just served the wrong lord. She walks to the edge of the sword, kicking the guard and knocking him over. She then runs towards the other guards, kneeing one in the chest while kicking the third. She swiftly takes care of the rest of the Marcus guards, approaching him last. He commands her to kneel down before him, and that if she does, he would forgive her. She looks back at him with a look of disinterest, asking him if she is sure about what she's about to do. She mentions that to disobey the Marcus is to take on the entire capital, wondering if she wants to turn the whole world against herself. She tells the Marcus that it doesn't matter, as from the very beginning, she had decided to follow her own master. With sweat running down his face, he asks her to stop. In one last bid to protect himself, he tells her that Commander Kazel of the Royal Knights is a friend of his. Thus, if she raises her hand against him, her position as a knight would be over. She doesn't care and swiftly kicks him in the head. The Marcus falls to the ground as she proclaims that the only place she belongs is forever next to her master. From a distance, Yuji looks on, noting how amazing she is as the crowd talks about the power of the demon warrior. They mention how skilled she is, and they speculate that Lady Ira must have eloped with her gentleman lover. The barefoot girl walks up to Ira, thanking her for helping her out, and goes in for a hug. Ira responds that she's just glad that Milia is okay. The crowd calls out to Ira, telling her that it seems the Royal Knights heard the commotion and are headed their way. Yuji worries, thinking that if they see something like this, they will think that Ira betrayed the Royal Knights. The crowd urges Ira to run away, promising to cover for her and thanking her for punishing the Marcus. Yuji looks at the crowd, thinking about how so many people adore her. Ira quickly picks Yuji up, and he shouts at her, asking what is happening. She starts running away, thanking the crowd, while the crowd wonders if Yuji is her new man, hoping for her happiness and wanting to see the man's face. A figure on a rooftop in the distance thinks about how Ira's magical power is unmistakably human, which means that the man she's holding must be Yuji. His assistant wonders which one he is talking about. Yuji's observation of the royal capital was complete as they headed out, noting that many things happened, but overall, it was fun. Yuji was also glad that his relationship with Ira had progressed a lot. He thought about something that happened last night and turned to Ira, asking her where she went. She calmly turned to him and told him that she went to wipe out the Marcus's soldiers. Conan had informed her that he had more than 100 private soldiers in his villa. Conan told him that she was honored to be of service. Ira went on to tell him that there was now no possibility of the Marcus harming them. Yuji thought that, as expected, Ira works really fast. He asked her if it was alright, to which she asked what he meant. With sorrow and a hint of sadness on his face, he asked her about yesterday, noting that she could not go back to the Knights anymore. With a grin on her face, she told him that it was no problem at all because the place she belongs is wherever her master is. As she leaned in and kissed Yuji, from the seat in front of them, Conan slowly poked her head up menacingly with her eyes wide and black, asking the two of them if they could not do anything shameful right in front of her. The two apologized as she thought of how envious she was of them while they traveled in their blimp. At the Marcus villa, he sat at his table, slamming his fists into the table, proclaiming that he would never forgive that woman and that this grudge would not end until he made her pay. Suddenly, however, he put his hand on his head, thinking of what he could do now that most of his soldiers had been incapacitated. In walked the man from the roof yesterday, quipping that the Marcus looked like he was in trouble. The Marcus loudly asked who he was. The man introduced himself as Grace and bowed before the Marquis, telling him that he was merely a humble demon. The Marquis questioned as he thought about how demons are mysterious beings that rarely appear and that there is only one thing everyone knows for sure, which is that they harbor only ill will towards other races. Angrily, the Marquis put his hands on the table and got up, telling his knights to kick the demon out of his house immediately. As they were about to draw their swords, he looked at the knights, telling them that he would not be the one who would be their opponent. The girl walked in, and he looked back at her, telling them that she would be their opponent, and called out to Cannon, who told him to leave it to her. Cannon walked towards them as the guards wondered what was up with her. Suddenly, she disappeared and appeared behind them, telling them that it was now their turn, punching them and launching them out of the room, breaking the wall in between and creating a perfect hole. The Marquis looked on dumbfounded, wondering what the girl was doing. As he reached for his sword, Kanon told him that he shouldn't do that, and that any more fighting would only amount to needless bloodshed. Grace told him that the girl was a vampire, and the Marcus thought about how they are the strongest among the demons. He asked Grace what he wanted. Grace told him not to be alarmed, but that they have come to assist the Marcus in his revenge. He pulled out a small glass bottle from his coat, and the Marcus asked what it was. Grace told him that it is called DD, and that you can obtain the power of humans by drinking it. If the Marcus would cooperate, Grace would give him one. The Marcus rushed towards him, telling him that he could not trust whatever the demon said. He pushed one of the tablets into the Marcus's throat, quipping that the Marcus was quite slow. Suddenly, the Marcus started getting larger, ripping out of his clothes, as the demon quipped that the right to refuse was never his to begin with. In their cave, the three sat as a man asked Yuji how he liked today's breakfast. He told her that it was delicious, of course, adding that the presentation was fancier than last time and thanking Ira a lot. She told him that she always thought medieval recipes did not taste that good, and thus she used Milia's cooking as a reference. Yuji thought about how hardworking she was as he looked at her struggling to open something and asked what was wrong. She told him nothing, just adding that the lid from the jam she got was quite tough. He asked her for it, thinking that even though she was a knight, she is still a woman. She apologized and asked him to do it. He tried opening it, noticing that it would not open and wondering if Hadai gave them a defective product. Ira looked on at him and asked if he was alright as he struggled to open the jar and instead ended up breaking it in his hands. Ira quickly rushed over to him and asked if he was alright, to which he told her that he is fine, but more importantly, there's something that he wants her to hear. She tentatively stood and asked what it was, to which he asked her if it was possible that he was extremely powerful. She told him that he is the world's strongest, and on the other hand, she can't even keep up with his pace. He thought about how he has a strong image of the time he was weak in his original world, but in the end, he does not feel like he has gotten any stronger. She asked him if perhaps he was unaware of his own powers. He noted how when he was in battle with Dex, he was in trouble, and it felt like his physical ability suddenly increased. She told him that his body-strengthening magic might have been triggered at that time. He wondered what it was, to which she told him that just like the name implies, it's a magic that strengthens his body and triggers simultaneously. The triggers are when someone is in a tight situation, and by instinct, there are two ways it can be triggered, which are flight or fight. She went on to say that earlier it was probably triggered when he broke the jar, as he wondered if it got triggered just because he was unable to open it. Conan stood there, saying that when someone acquires a spontaneous type, they'll be able to just do it. Of course, she thinks that her master can easily blow away mountains with minimal effort. Yuji stood there, thinking about how from now on he would train this magic. But from the distance, they heard a sound. They went to investigate and found Rose entangled in the ropes. She said that she knew it was her and asked him what he was doing, demanding her clothes back as he handed them back to her. She asked him why she had to be unclothed every time, and he told her that intruders would be neutralized as soon as they were found. In the distance, Ira told him that when she was with him, this kind of thing did not happen, and she spoke about using the slippery slimes to play with her master. She went on to ask Rose what her plans were for the day as she pulled out a bottle and told them that her dad gave it to her. It was a rare flavoring he found in a country of the East Island, and she thought she would share it with Yuji. Yuji looked at the bottle excitedly and proclaimed that it was soy sauce, unaware that soy sauce existed in this parallel universe. He thought about how the food here had a basic saltiness, and he had been yearning for the flavor of soy sauce. Ira thanked Rose, noting that she would use it in today's lunch. Outside the cave, Yuji practiced his magic with Ira and was excited to receive Ira's cooking for lunch. Rose and Yuji sat at the table as Conan sat on Yuji's lap. Rose talked about how lucky she was to be receiving Ira's cooking. She told them that these were vegetables from the bear human tribe and fried goods from lesser orcs, asking them to eat up. As they started eating, Yuji thought about how he hadn't tasted soy sauce in so long and that it was a lot different than the flavor he was expecting, noting that it was salty and had a raw smell to it. Angrily, Rose looked at Yuji, telling him that Ira had made it and asked him to eat it with more passion. He looked at her, telling her that it was delicious. Yuji thought about how the flavor wasn't too good and turned to Rose, asking her if the flavoring she brought was not soy sauce. She told him that it was napura, a traditional flavoring in the eastern countries. He thought about how it was fish sauce and turned to Ira, asking her if she knew about soy sauce, to which she told him that she did not. He thought about how if it hadn't even been mentioned in any menu, then it probably had not been created in this world yet. He wondered if he could perhaps create it himself, and that if he successfully developed soy sauce, then Ira would be overjoyed, and he would call it the incomparable strategy to disperse soy sauce in this parallel universe. He went to the bear people and asked them for soybeans, which they gave him, telling him to use them to his heart's content. He started the recipe for soy sauce in a barrel by mixing soybeans with salt and water. He thought about how no matter how he looked at it, he couldn't see anything happening without everything being soaked in the brine. He realized he had no idea how to make soy sauce, but in situations like this, he had to be optimistic and hope that a chemical reaction would occur. As he stood there praying for something to happen, he heard a noise from the outside and quickly covered up the barrel so no one would see what he was doing. He greeted Ira outside and asked her what was up. She told him that it was almost past time. He told her that he had done a lot of physical work today and wanted to wash away the sweat. Rose joined in, telling them that she wanted to take a bath with them, which led to Ira displaying a sad, disappointed face. Yuji wondered if they were going to bathe with Rose, as she said that she heard Ira washes his back every day and that she was jealous, saying that he doesn't see Ira as just someone who makes him feel good, right? From behind her, Ira came up and pushed Rose to the ground, telling her to calm down and that they hadn't gone any further than backwashing. She couldn't tell her about what happened at the hotel. Rose told them that if it was true, then there would be no problem if she joined them to make sure that Yuji doesn't do anything indecent. Yuji asked if it was alright, and she told him that the fastest way to prove innocence was to let her watch. Yuji thought that it was meaningless for her to just monitor them the entire day. Rose's mouth drooled as she thought about getting to see Ira nude. They entered the bathhouse, and Rose was shocked by its grandeur. She hadn't thought such a bathhouse existed, and it made the royal bathhouse look like a puddle on the road. Ira told Rose that now was not the time to relax, as her duty was to wash the master's back. As Ira undressed, Rose was delighted, thinking about how this was Ira's body that she had dreamed of and proclaiming that it was beautiful. Ira told her not to look at her too much and that, even though they were both girls, it was still embarrassing for others to see her naked. Rose reassured her, telling her that she should not be ashamed of her body. She addressed herself, asking Ira to show her more of her body. She turned and saw Yuji looking and asked him not to look at her body. He apologized and turned his head. With her face down and feeling slightly sad, she asked if he didn't enjoy looking at her large chest. Rose thought about what Ira had said, which was that small and reserved chests are what all women yearn for, and that if Ira had said that, then Rose should be troubled about her big chest, and her complex was justified. Ira walked up to her and told her that there was no need to worry, as Yuji likes big breasts. She looked back at Yuji, saying that she felt an indecent gaze coming from him and told him not to stare at her body. After undressing, they all went to the bath. Rose noted that a wine bath was such an original concept and that the civilization that humans have made is truly surprising as they sat in the bath relaxing. While they sat in the bath, Rose mentioned that there was something she wanted to discuss with Yuji. She told him that she wanted to take some remaining hot water with her as the water contains lots of Yuji's magical power and she would be able to make the highest quality healing potions with it. He told her that if that is the case, she may take as much as she wants. She emphatically got up, asking about the deal, to which he said that they were friends and there was no need for money from her side. He had already seen her goods, which made her shy and get back in the bath. He thought that he had said too much. She told him that if that is the case, then she wouldn't be so thoughtful, as Yuji had been constantly looking at her chest. Back in their room, they prepared to sleep. Ira called out to Yuji, telling him that something has been bothering her lately, and she cannot turn a blind eye to Rose's behavior towards him. He mentioned that it can't be helped since Rose has sworn loyalty to Ira and not him. She told him that she is aware, however, she worries that when the formation protecting him becomes too large, the loyalty of the soldiers might change, and that if one won't listen to him, neither will the others. He asked her what she should do, and she told him that she believes he should listen to her for a while. The next morning, they entered a room. Yuji thought that he did not know what was going on, but if Ira was the one making the plan, then it would be a good plan. She guided him inside, telling him that Rose was waiting for them, and that even if something happens, she does not want him to make a noise. As they entered, they found Rose tied up and on a chair in rather revealing clothing. She proclaimed that she couldn't take it anymore and asked Ira to hurry up and fool around with her steamy body, leaving Yuji to wonder about the situation he was in. Rose once again proclaims that she can't resist, and Ira makes a scary face, quipping that she will give her lots of love from now on and tells Yuji to give her a kiss. He thinks that in this situation it could be quite dangerous. She tells him that she will take full responsibility, and this is the only way for her to yield to him. Yuji thinks that since it is Ira telling him to do it, she has probably thought it through and believes her. He leans in for the kiss. Rose thinks about how the inside of Ira's mouth tastes so good and how her body is rapidly getting hotter. As they're kissing, Ira quickly takes off Alexis's blindfold. Alexis mentions how mean Ira was, asking her why she would do something so cruel. Ira tells her that it is for her own sake, as she can't depend on her to serve Yuji. It is her time to graduate. Yuji thinks about how this is Ira's way of showing love, and it's a kind of forced way of doing things. She tells Rose that her heart was taken by Yuji and not her, and that she asked for Yuji's lips. She says that she refuses and is only in love with Ira, and that this is a test to see if Ira is testing her love for her. Unless she understands everything, Ira goes silent, asking her to kiss her one more time. Yuji tells her that even if words don't work on her, then nothing will. He bends down and puts his arms around Rose, telling her that he's sorry, but he does not think Rosetta will change her mind even after all of this, and that he thinks it should be up to her to choose who she falls in love with. He thinks about how he may have resolved the problem of Alex's reliance, but they overdid it. Even though she received such horrible treatment, she still wants to respect the feelings that Rose holds for Ira, and he apologizes to her. Rose kisses Yuji from behind, shocking Ira. She tells him that he can now call her just Rose instead of Rosetta, as he is now closer to her and can call her by that name. She tells him not to get the wrong idea as to her. Men are just rough, violent, and can only think with their lower half. But he is different, and he has somehow changed her opinion of herself. She thinks the process was strange, but the outcome is all right. Rose hugs both of them, proclaiming that from now on, there will be 3 people who love each other, and when the 3 of them kiss each other, the happiness will be doubled. Yuji stands in the distance, saying that he is happy to see the 2 of them get along with each other. He thinks that even if the 3 of them get along, it won't be as bad, noting that he will also be able to absorb relics faster. Ira agrees, saying that's what her lord has said. Rose looks at Yuji, asking if they should continue kissing, saying that she has been holding back from before. Ira asks how many times she has kissed him before, to which Rose proposes that the 2 of them kiss him at the same time. Ira hears this and agrees, but mentions that her heart is not quite ready yet. Yuji lies in bed, and the 2 of them tell him that they can be his partners at the same time, and that they will make him feel really good. He wonders if it is because of the length of their relationship, but having both of them together seems perfect. Yuji wakes up the next day, reflecting on the amazing experience from the previous day. Rose suddenly walks in to greet him, saying good morning. He asks her if she's already awake, to which she replies that she is going back to the royal capital today, and that she feels a bit lonely parting with Ira, but has missions to do. He asks her why she cares so much about Ira, telling her that she does not need to talk to him about it if she doesn't want to. Rose goes on to tell Yuji about an incident from 5 years ago at the Luverne family home. She was fighting and was a rank adventurer, easily winning, and considering it a waste of time if she spent any more time with the small fry. He calls her a brat, telling her that she should be respectful to the poor while using a spell called Burning Shot on her. In response, she uses Window Edge, shocking him as it was magic way too advanced for her age. The maid reminds Rose about her meeting with the son of the Rowbuster family in the afternoon. Back in her room, Rose reflects on her training and how she found it to be a waste of her time. She was far more interested in training with magic than in bride training. While other girls her age were having fun, she spent her time practicing her magic every day, setting her apart from the rest. As her maid brushed her hair, the maid asked if she had any interest in men, to which Rose replied that she had no interest in those rough and violent creatures. She mentioned that even if her father had different plans, she wouldn't listen to anybody. This is why she rejected all her marriage proposals and earned the nickname Mad Dog Rose. 2 years after that, she rebelled against her parents and joined the Knights of the royal capital. Many wondered if they wanted to get rid of her, but she didn't care about anyone's opinions. She had finally found freedom and chose the path of the sword, rejecting the life of a noble family's daughter and avoiding the prospect of a future where she'd have to get married into a prestigious family and do whatever the men wanted. While she was walking through the halls, Amanda approached from behind, telling her that he would like to attend her. She replied, asking him if he wanted to get beaten up. She thought about how living as a knight was great and family and age did not matter. Instead, sword skills were all that mattered when it came to being a knight. She had many men yield to her sword skills in an instant, and it brought her happiness. When the word about her being a mad dog had spread throughout the entire night group, she met someone. She met Ira. Ira came to her, asking if she was Rose from the noble family. She introduced her to the Knight Captain's order and told her that she would be affiliated with their regiment from that day. Rightfully, Rose responded that she had no desire to work under those who were below her. In response, Ira threw her sword and told her to use that sword for 5 minutes to attack her, and she would not use any weapons in return because she couldn't help herself from properly guiding her students. Rose proclaimed that she was quite calm as she charged at her, calling her elf scum. Ira easily outskilled Rose as she proclaimed that Ira was several levels ahead of her and would easily defeat her. Rose honed her speed and power, and strangely at that time, she was not frustrated at all. She looked at Ira, talking to the captain about how Rose would join the regiment and be under her control. Rose continued, saying that their love deepened for each other while she gained guidance from Ira. Now Vega Ira told her not to lie and make citrus, as Yuji quipped that the election of today was a result of her meeting Ira. Ira told him that Rose became the vice captain of the 3rd Regiment and that she earnestly followed her guidance. Then, before she knew it, she was in love as she wondered why it turned out like this. Yuji stealthily headed to check on his soybeans, wondering how they had turned out. He expected the soybeans to turn black with salt water, but instead they looked the same as before. Suddenly, Kazumi appeared behind him, asking what he was doing and pressing him further, guessing that he was trying to make soy sauce. She told him that she knew what soy sauce was and that it was Yoshi's favorite condiment. He thought about how soy sauce was made 10,000 years ago, and she gave him some advice that he needed yeast if he wanted to make soy sauce. She explained that he needed to add yeast to the steamed soybeans and to the fried and crushed wheat. Yuji went on to talk about how he had heard a story of a hero who did it easily a long time ago, and that making soy sauce was a large hurdle for an amateur. Kazumi told him that if he wanted to make soy sauce, they could head to the historical ruins, as it would be faster. After he told her that he wanted to make it as a surprise for Ira, Kazumi went on to tell him that there were all kinds of cookware on the 2nd floor. She mentioned that if they released it to the public, they could have soy sauce, miso kitchens, and even mayonnaise could be created with the press of a button. Yuji thought about how the hot springs were amazing, and if the gourmet area was used, their food would become even better. As they went exploring, Era asked him if something had happened because he had been reluctant to explore the ruins before. He made up an excuse, saying that he was scared of fighting the column, but if that happened again, he could escape to the 1st floor. He noted that Ira looked happy because she was thinking that the hideout was in urgent need of expanding its defensive power. If they could get more golem allies like Kazumi, their fighting power would be more reliable. Kazumi quickly revealed a staircase to the 2nd floor. The 2nd floor was a large garden that shocked Yuji. It was quite spacious compared to the 1st floor. The idea was bigger because the more they descended in their historical ruins, the more spacious it got, and it had 4 floors. Ira went on to explain that the more they ascended, the more compatible their defensive column should be. Yuji was calm since he had 2 combat experts accompanying him. Kazumi told him that she was just returning to the 1st floor, and if he needed anything, he could call her. She also informed him that golems on different levels couldn't cooperate with each other. She wished him good luck and left. Yuji started exploring the garden, noting that it was quite impressive and would be a good place for a picnic. Yuji found monkey bread hanging from a tree, wondering how to eat it. Ira opened it up for him, and he noted how good it was, offering her some. He was hit with nostalgia, thinking back to when they first met and how they had done so many things together. They reminisced as he wondered what this warm feeling was called. He thought that it was satisfaction and that he was content with Ira. Ira noted that Yuji's face had turned red and asked him what was wrong as crabs rushed toward them. The crabs panicked them as their food was monkey fruit. Ira made quick work of them using a burning bullet, which was even stronger than last time, but the crabs kept on coming. Yuji thought that at this rate, Ira would be in trouble since the magic had no effect on them. He took a rock and started cracking their shells, hoping it would weaken the crabs. After defeating all of them, Ira hugged him for protecting her. He asked her if she was hurt, and she assured him that she was fine, thanking her master for saving her. She suggested going back up so she could change her clothes since they had been destroyed by the crabs. However, she decided it was fine and didn't want to interrupt the expedition. As they explored further, the column suddenly appeared because it detected intruders and launched its eye at them, which started sucking up all the water. Yuji wondered if it was part of its battle procedure. After a bit, the golem turned into a massive squid, claiming that its battle preparations were complete, and the intruders would be exterminated. Its tentacle grabbed Ira as Yuji called out to her and balled his hand into a fist, punching the golem's tentacle, although he knew it wasn't effective. Ira called out to him and told him to calm down since the column in the hidden ruins should have that emergency stop button. Yuji threw a rock at it, which released a laser beam that went through all of the levels and out into the sky. The column proclaimed that the emergency button had been pressed, and it was now entering human form, and its attacks would now stop. Yuji ran over to Ira, hugging her, as a woman appeared and thanked Yuji for waking her from her slumber. She introduced herself as Area 2, a golem wearing Chinese clothes. She referred to Yuji as her master and asked if he was familiar with her clothes. She mentioned that her previous master, Kathy, really liked these clothes and gave the golems ethnic costumes from all around the world, which is why Kazumi wore Japanese clothes. Yuji realized that this meant the alternate world had places like Japan, and he expressed his desire to visit. He then asked Area if there was a place on the floor where he could make soy sauce. Area told him that she knew a lot about that and offered to show him how to use the facility. Yuji was excited at the prospect of bringing the flavor of salt into this parallel world. They entered the facility, which turned out to be very advanced, and Yuji was amazed by how the cloning of crabs and other manufacturing took place. Area explained that the clone crabs served as magical guardians of the floor, and there were always hundreds of them living there. If their numbers decreased, more would be created. It wasn't just a historical facility, it was manufacturing all sorts of items. Area led them to a machine that made soy sauce and resembled a PC. She mentioned that she couldn't provide any more information but remembered that Kathy used it to make soy sauce. Ira was shocked when the PC turned on and Yuji easily operated the system, producing soy sauce in front of them. Despite using materials that were 10,000 years old, the flavor was quite good. Ira was amazed at Yuji's ease of using such complicated machinery. Both Area and Ira praised Yuji for his adeptness with the equipment. They began making all sorts of condiments. Area created Kazumi, and they gathered everything they had made. Yuji had successfully made soy sauce, ketchup, mayonnaise, miso, and ponzu. He wanted to create other condiments, but the materials required were complicated, so he planned to try next time. Ira expressed her gratitude and promised to put all her effort into making that day's meal, making Yuji very happy. He returned to the PC, contemplating what else he could create, and made monkey fruit candy, noting how tasty it was. He thought about making various flavors to give as gifts to the others. All of them celebrated their successful conquest of the second floor with the new ingredients. They now had a formal dining room and planned to invite Milia and Rose next time. The food was delicious, and Yuji felt a warm and overflowing power within him. Ira told him that it was probably the magic power from the clone crabs. He noted that the stronger the monster's magic power, the higher the concentration of magic power they would absorb, which explained why they were all so eager for his saliva, as humans possessed the greatest magical power. Ira tasted the soy sauce and noted that it resembled fish sauce but was smooth and mellow. Yuji was pleased that she liked it, and he explained that ponzu would go better with crab, but today he wanted to emphasize the flavor of soy sauce, so they didn't use too much ponzu. They encouraged everyone to eat as much as they wanted. Area revealed that her specialty was cleaning up the table, to which Yuji commented on why she had such a lame specialty. Area explained that her previous owner, Kathy, loved to cook, and they all enjoyed the meal, eating crab to their heart's content. Outside the hideout, a vampire drew closer and closer. The chapter starts with Ganon, and of course wondering where she is. She thinks it's very strange, and that it is too silent. She thinks about how she wants to hurry up and fight a human. When there is an overwhelmingly strong creature, the lowest ranked monsters will burrow and won't come out. She thinks about how there are humans right next to her. She looks over at a point where a man and a girl are sitting next to it. She looks at the girl and wonders what kind of magical power she has. She thinks about how the boy is normal, but the girl is on a completely different level. The boy says to the girl to not drink too much or else it'll hurt her stomach. Tennant decides that this is a human's power and that it is very interesting. She decides the stronger the enemy is, the more fired up she will get. She jumps over at the girl and says that she will kill her. She ends up on the back of the human. As he puts her down, he asks her if she is hurt, and if she is alright. She thinks about what exactly this person is, as his magic power and body are perfectly normal, but she senses some kind of magic from him. She thinks about how if he gets in her way, she will kill him and says that it doesn't matter who he is. As she tries to wield her sword, it breaks off. The man says that this has startled him and that this was a secret blade given to Kanon by a magic trick, and that there was no way that it would have been broken so easily. The man says that it is not a good one if it broke after swinging once and asks if it's a toy. Kanon says that she needs to calm down, that she can't win if she lets the blood rush to her head. She asks him what his name is, and he replies that his name is Ugg and asks what her name is. She thinks about how she didn't notice it before because the magic power he possesses is too loud, but that she had heard that a human's power is eccentric. In the end, she decides to tell him his name and asks him to remember it, as she just wants him to know that she thinks they will be seeing each other soon again. The man wonders what that was about and who that kid was. He decides that he will go home while she goes into a cave. She is sitting there when a man approaches her and tells her that her strength had fascinated him. He says he wants them to help her with their plans. He wants to use her strength as a tool. He extends his hand and says that they should prove themselves superior to the others. Kanon says that she is already all alone and that now it's time, and that if they attacked in her sleep, that she might have a chance of winning. She goes into the cave, and inside she finds the little girl. The little girl attacks her, and she thinks about how that was a very heavy punch. The master and Kara are both sleeping peacefully and are in a deep sleep when suddenly they hear a loud noise coming from outside. They are both thrown outside and see the girl sitting on the ground, saying that she wants to be killed. Kira asks the master to please get away, as this might be dangerous. The master wonders if the girl is the one that they had run into in the forest. They say that the girl's attire implies that she must be an assassin sent to aim for the master's life. They realize that with a particularly high fighting ability among the demon tribe, she is a vampire. The master wonders if this little girl really is an assassin. He asks if her name is Kanon and that she needs to tell him the truth. Kanon keeps asking to be killed, to which Kira says that for assassins, revealing their name would be more humiliating than death. She says that it's useless to ask her for any information. Kanon says that she had lost the battle, so there was no meaning for her to continue living on. The master thinks about how it looks like she was more shocked from being caught than she was by anything else. The master goes and says that he will be back soon. After he returns, he thanks them for waiting for him and hands a candy over to Kanon. He tells her that it's a sweet and delicious candy and that he is giving it to her so that she must not do bad things anymore. Kira thinks that the master is too soft on the girl. Kanon works out and thinks about how that was awful, but as she looks at the candy, she is happy that something came out of it. She opens the candy and pops it in her mouth, thinking that it is delicious. She begins to find herself in a really good mood. She runs into Grace and asks him why he is here, to which he says that it is terrible of her to say that, as he had come because he was worried about her. He asks her if she had found out who the man was, and she said that she had perfectly without any problems. Grace is happy to hear that and asks why she would do unnecessary things like that. He says that he had his supporters follow her, and that she should not lie to him. Kanon asks what he is saying, and he asks how it is that the human race is so strong. He says that that was quite troublesome for him to find out. Kanon says that he was strong, but that maybe she couldn't possibly win. Grace adds that if she can't win against the human race, then she is the key to the strategy. He tells her that he has no need for her anymore and asks her to get out. He thinks about how her strength will become a threat to the village sooner or later, that only if she were to be able to disappear. Grace reaches for a small vial and says that if she can't fight against the human race, then she can have the same power as them. He pulls out a bottle of pills and tells her that taking one gives her the same strength as the power of the human race. He says that this medicine is made based on the power of the human race. He reminds her that he had given her this information before. He tells her that there are no side effects by just taking one and that it is fine, and it is being constantly improved. She says that the medicine is incomplete, but Grace just asks her if she wants to be alone again, to which she begins to get angry and decides to take the pills anyway. He tells her that he is going to give her back the role she lost to the master. The master and Kira are in bed, and Kira tells him that Grace is very bold. The master asks her what time it is, to which she says that she does not know and says that they need to go. The master thinks about if Kanon really is an assassin and if she is going to come back and attack. The man begins to shout, and the master says that it's amazing. He thinks about how he is a violent tyrant, and his whole body has been filled with power. He looks at the man and asks if his name is Cyber. Upon hearing this, he goes back to her normal form, to which the master is surprised and asks if Kangaroo is okay, to which she says that she is positive. She says that the enemy is attacking towards the first level, but the other barbs had reached, and their lives were safe. She says that they are currently in the middle of the fight, and she thinks they will be able to join them soon. She says that they were able to invade due to the large number of enemies, but they were still better than them in terms of ability. He wonders if only she had woken up. The other girl says to the master. The other girl says that Kangaroo and her will take care of their enemies on that floor and asks if the master will please help on the second floor. The master asks if they are fine, which is the two of them, and she says that it won't be a problem if the opponent is the one that they had just faced. She uses a burning bullet against him and takes a very good strike, to which the master comments that that was a good one. The master bumps into Cannon, to which she says that she had finally found him, clearly indicating that she was looking for him to start with. The girl shouts at the master, asking him to stay safe, but before she knows it, the master is being stabbed. She shouts at him, asking if he is fine. He says that he is fine, although the wound seems to be shallow. He tells her to take care of this Cyber and the others. She answers that, in all honesty, it's not okay, but if he had told her what was going on, she would be worried. He thinks about how this is very surprising. Cannon thinks about how the blade would be able to cut through any kind of object, and remembers the man saying that the magic sword is called Bloody Rain. The man says that his name is Grace, and that he is from the humble demon tribe. Grace stands in front of the master. The master asks him who he is, and he says that, as he had thought, the power of the human race is quite interesting. The master thinks about how he is from the demon tribe, and asks if he was the one that had given the relic to Cyber, to which he says that he had. The master says that the relics they made were from different things and that they are as incomplete as he had thought from various areas. Gray realizes that they had become their test subjects. The master says that he needs to stop and think about human life. He looks at Grace as his opponent, to which Cannon jumps on him, saying that the opponent has her. The master thinks about how that was dangerous even if it was just a few centimeters off. He ponders that she knows that, and Grace is aware she won't be able to kill him. Cannon thinks to herself that she won't miss next time and knows that if she doesn't miss, he will die. The master says that she is much faster than he had thought when they had met before. He shouts at her and asks if she was the demon and if he was the one who had given her something. She asks what if they had to which the master looks surprised and asks if that's why. She says that it doesn't matter and that she had gotten stronger thanks to the medicine. Grace says that he may become the first test subject for them and asks if he hadn't heard what he had just said about the relics being incomplete. Cannon says that in order to get the medicine again, she needs to defeat him, and the master looks worried. Rhea from the other side shoots at the master, thinking that there is no use trying to talk to Cannon. Rhea says that the girl has already been absorbed by the darkness of the relic, and therefore she shouldn't believe anything that comes out of her mouth. Cannon thinks about how it doesn't matter what she wants to see, and she knows that it will turn bad for her. The master thinks about how Rhea is right and gives her another candy, saying that as long as she comes back to her senses, she can have it. Cannon asks if he is fooling around and says that reality isn't as sweet as their candies. Grace asks Cannon to kill no matter what and thinks about how she is completely under his control. The master thinks about how he cannot think straight because of how much blood there is on him. The master seems very frustrated, thinking that there is only one way to do this. Cannon thinks about how he is right as Grace tells her that this is her last chance. Cannon wields the sword at the master and thinks about how the sword has been sealed, and she will strengthen her hands with the maximum body-enhancing magic. Cannon bites the master, considering she's a vampire, and it was the only action she could take. Grace asks her what she will do to finish this man, and she looks very frustrated and begins to cry, saying that she does not want to hurt this person. The master is thankful because he realizes that she has finally returned to her senses, and he thinks that the blood and the power of the real relic had worked, and all that was left was to defeat Grace. He punches Grace and his mask falls off. Rhea runs towards the master, saying that they had defeated all the intruders. Kira looks ahead and appears very shocked, to which the master asks her what's wrong. She thinks about how the magical power leaking from the person's body is something that only humans have, and it's the same as her master's. The master is shocked to hear that there are humans besides him here. Grace says that this was a terrible mistake on his part, and says that not only did they see his real face, but they also were able to sense his magic, as expected of the human race. He thinks about how the humans from this world must have died thousands of years ago, and wonders if he was summoned from another world like the master was. Grace says that he will pay back the favor someday and tells the master not to forget. The master asks him to wait, but instead of waiting, he disappears in a second. Ira and the master think about how he's gone so fast. He approaches one of the girls and says that he will leave it to her, and she says that she will take care of Cyberinin and his subordinates. She says that it is some leftover bathwater and that it should help to reduce the effects of the poison. He takes the jar and hands it over to her. Ira rushes over and asks him to listen as she says that she has finished sealing the curse. She says that it's only because they were being used by demons, that it is quite precious, and that it is really okay for them to have it. The master thinks about how now that Grace knows about him and his hideout, he probably won't be able to hide in this world anymore. A few days after the attack, Kanon is sitting at a table surrounded by other people and is under their care in the hideout. She is talking about how the sauce called ketchup is very delicious as she devours her sandwich. The master knows that she would like it. She asks if there is more of it and that she had finished all of it already. He pulls out another bottle, to which all three of the girls turn to him, asking what it is. He says that he doesn't really know how it works, but that he had managed to make another bottle in the gourmet area. He says that he had made more of it, and Kanon says that she looked like she really enjoyed it, so he hands her the whole bottle. Kanon is surprised and says that it is very generous. Ira says something to Kanon. The master tells her that those are really bad manners. Kanon thinks about how Kara is very annoying and tells her that no matter what she says, the ketchup is hers, and that the master had given it to her. A girl asks the master to please say something, but he just stands there confused. He says that it's people who like chips so much that they add it to everything, and asks if she is a ketchup lover. She says that maybe she is, and that it's bad if she has too much, but she says that from now on, she will become a ketchup lover and that it's not really a horrible title, and that it fits her perfectly. Ira runs over to the master seductively and calls out to him, but Kanon joins them in the room and says that it's her turn next. The master says that Ira needs to forgive him as it will only increase her power. She thinks about how Kanon has added to the daily kissing time. Kanon comes over to the master and bites him on his shoulder, and Ira asks if it is time already. Kanon turns to Ira and asks her to shut up and asks the master if he is enjoying her flat chest. Kanon asks if he is enjoying her flat chest and asks if her flat chest feels good against him, to which the master has no comment. She thinks about how it's a shame, but in this world, flat chests are more popular, and so Kanon has the wrong attitude. She says that the master has no interest in her pathetic flat chest as the master is being recorded by all four of them. Kanon and Kira begin to argue. Kira says that the master needs to tell her that he does not like her flat chest and that he prefers a bigger chest, and says that Kanon needs to understand that. Kanon says to Kira that he is not a pervert and that men normally prefer smaller chests. The master begins thinking if he should have brought the two girls together, saying how much they were arguing. Self is roaming around in the wolf when he picks up a chili pepper and thinks that it is no good. He thinks about how it's because of the 3 o'clock in the middle of the forest that they cannot find enough food or a place to stay, and begins thinking about who they were to begin with, that their magic was so strong that the elves couldn't even come close. As they get deeper into the forest, they are approached by a wolf tribe and wonder why they would be in a place like this and decide to report them to the master. The elf says that he's very hungry, and the wolves say that they are thinking the same thing. Kanon thinks about how there is no need to reinforce their defenses to the master. The master, Kira, and Kanon also sit around the table having breakfast. Kira suggests that the master needs to increase the number of people who guard the hideout. The master asks if it is for securing the area below the second floor and wonders if they really need more reinforcements. Kanon thinks about how they won't be able to defend themselves if they ever get raided by someone stronger than them, and that she has realized that they don't have enough people if they get raided. The master says that it's true that there are only a few members who are that strong. He suggests that they should try gathering some allies, to which Kanon agrees, saying they should gather people who would cooperate with them, like a human army. He thinks about a human army and finds it embarrassing. Kanon says that because it is an army with the master as the core, he might be disheartened by the name. She says that he should tell her what they should do to help, even if it sounds kind of like a demon army. The master says that she shouldn't worry and that he is satisfied with it. Kira asks if it is fine if he doesn't do anything and if there is anything specific the master has to do. He says that he and Kira can go and rest and thinks about how he is generally only a name. He wonders if it can't be that the only contribution he has made to the human army was the bath and the meals, and if there was anything else. He wonders if everything he has done wasn't actually useful. Kanan says that he looks weird and asks what's wrong, to which he says that there's nothing to worry about. Ira walks in and asks if they shall leave, and the master says they should. He thinks about how it does give him more time for training. The master thinks about training himself and gets very tired. Kira keeps calling out to him, and Kanan says that they have brought a new support network for the human army, and they are waiting outside. The elves and the wolves thank the master for waiting and introduce themselves as the Goblin tribe and the Wolf tribe. Kanan says that both of them would like to swear their loyalty to the master, and the master begins to think that he can't feel the loyalty. The wolf says that he had thought that he could meet the legendary human race by coming there, and says that he is quite disappointed by this. The goblin says that it seems like their expectations were too high. Kanan thinks about how that is strange, and the master asks if she really wants them to join him and the rest of the group. Kanan says that she had spent 2 hours explaining how wonderful the master was, and that maybe her explanations were not sufficient. She says that she had never expected them to have a rebellious attitude towards the master and apologizes to him. He says that he will try to explain it to them because of how Ira lived as a knight before, and there were moments when she was surprisingly callous about life and death. The wolf begins to think if he should kill both of them right now, and Kanan tells him that he should not. The goblin says that the reason he would want to swear loyalty is because of how impressed he was by the master's strength, and that swearing loyalty to him was a different story. Duel says that he agrees with the Copeland, and says that he will only accept Kanan. He says that the wolf tribe would rather prefer dying than obeying such a dumb-looking guy. The master asks if Ira would mind lending him the magic ring, as she had told him that it was repaired. He puts it on and thinks about how he can feel 99% of his magic. The master says that he will now show them the magic power of the human race, and that if he impresses them, they should acknowledge it. The wolf says that he already knows the magic that a B-ranked adventurer could possibly use, and says that no matter what the master shows him, he won't be impressed anymore. The Copeland says that it won't compare to Kira's magic. The master uses a fireball and takes a very strong hit. The goblin thinks about how there was no way that could possibly be done by the master, and thinks that it was a legendary type of fire magic. The master thinks about how, despite his greatest efforts, it was too strong. The wolf asks if he was lying to them and realizes that he wasn't. He thinks about how the ring that he had gotten from Ira had some kind of magic suppression abilities. The master says that he had gotten it wrong and that the ring was to suppress his power. The goblin says that he cannot believe anything that is coming out of the master's mouth. The goblin asks if he would like to try doing magic without the ring. The goblin and the wolf agree that maybe the magic came before the ring, and asks if it was a high-class magic jewel. He thinks about how magic jewelry is made from crystals of highly concentrated magic, and that the magic of the power is used in several magic items. The wolf takes a magic ball and decides to try to escape. He thinks about how he originally wanted to devote the wolf tribe's legendary magic jewel to Kanan, but he has decided not to. Ira says that they should kill all of them, but the master tries to hold her back. He thinks about how he can find a solution they might believe him. He sneezes and the wall breaks. They are both very impressed and realize that he does have a lot of magic. Kanan, the master, and Kira all sit next to each other at the table, trying to decide if they should form an alliance with the wolf and the goblin. Meanwhile, a woman enters a village and thinks about how it is very strange. She remembers that it was a little more lively the last time she had visited. She says that it's been quite a while and asks if the teacher had heard about the letter that she had sent. She also mentions that it looks like something interesting is going to happen. He apologizes and mentions that they don't have time to talk with the teacher. Rhea turns to the master and asks if she can introduce him, and the man asks who she is talking to. He then realizes that she is talking to a cat, and that the cat is actually the master. He is shocked upon learning this. He thinks about how this place is a little too shabby and small, but asks him to make himself feel at home. The goblin thinks about how the human is making a strange face because he is a cat, and that he doesn't need furniture that you would normally need. The man thinks about how there are so many things wrong with this situation and asks if the cat knows that he is a human. The cat says that of course he doesn't, but at first glance he knew that he was different from the others. Ira says that the captain of the strongest knight squad was the great sage Rachel, a name famous around the world. The cat says that Rachel was the most beautiful woman in the imperial capital, and it's a shame she can't show her glorious figure. Ira says that Rachel was even more beautiful than Kira. The man asks the cat why he had decided to turn into a cat, and she says that it was because something had happened. He wonders if it was just because she had a brush with something important, and thinks that it can't be that simple. The cat says that, as expected, the milk that Raya had brought was the best. The man acknowledges that the alliance with the human army was not something the cat initially understood. The cat, as the chief of the village, emphasizes that the village is not acting alone in this decision. He thinks about the importance of this decision but realizes he cannot refuse as it's a request from a disciple. They agree to form an alliance, and the cat starts thinking about the evil dragon. An adventurer who accidentally saw it had managed to survive and had mistaken it for a horned rabbit. He reflects on how the number of people visiting the village had decreased, and stress from the evil dragon had started to appear in the hunting grounds of the eastern forest. The man asks if what the cat is saying is true, and the girl says that in that case, they wouldn't want to remain helpless and would like to help the Imperial Knights. Ira counters by saying that no one has asked for their help, and the Knights may not even be aware of the situation. The cat expresses that it can't be helped. Kira mentions that it seems like a remote village won't receive any help. She recalls a recent incident where the master had spotted a wild boar and she had wanted to catch it. However, she had injured herself in the process. A group of men had approached them, and the master realized it was his fault. The cat asks if something is wrong, inquiring if the man understands what the cat is trying to convey. He reiterates that the only condition for the alliance is that the other dragon isn't killed. They decide to go to a bar and sit down, wondering if this is what adventures usually look like. Ira suggests they split up to gather information. They both enter the bar and decide to start gathering information, hoping to learn more about the evil dragon. The man approaches one of the patrons, who is surprised to see a new face in the bar. He informs the man that he's interested in getting information about the evil dragon. The patron responds dismissively, suggesting he should ask someone else and expressing disinterest in helping an ignorant newcomer. They approach multiple people in the bar, but no one provides them with any useful information. Feeling defeated, they step outside and sit on the stairs near the bar. A lady, accompanied by 3 others, approaches them and reveals that they are also looking for the evil dragon. They express their desire to join forces in the search. Ira and the man agree to team up. They discuss their love for the village, even though they haven't traveled extensively for work. One of the men expresses reluctance to form a party, citing concerns about not knowing the origins of the others, making him uncomfortable. Tempers begin to flare, but Ira and the man assert their strength, asking what the newcomers are good at. The man admits he hasn't promoted himself since his last job interview, while Ira boasts about her proficiency in magic, particularly recovery magic. Eventually, they agree to join forces, although the man is still uncertain. He mentions being a swordsman and claims to assess potential based on people's hands. Ira intervenes, telling them to stop and punching the man. She asserts that the man possesses exceptional magic and is highly skilled in both magic and martial techniques. The girl suggests that if Ira is vouching for the man, there might be some truth to his abilities. In the end, they decide to trust the master and unite their strengths to defeat the evil dragon. This chapter starts with both of the parties fighting the wolves, the goblins, and the just assembled team. They began to fight, and after they are done, Kira tells the master that they had already taken care of their side. The master says that he was really impressed by her body movement, and they all decide together that they are very happy with how everybody had taken care of the fight. Kira says that she is nothing special compared to her master. The girl says that it looks like she was looking at her husband all day, wasting her hard-earned money, and that this is bad. They all decide that even if the others can't, that girl can see the master's real power. She says that the acting skills required in order to hide your own power are truly amazing. The master thinks about how nice she is, and just as they're having this conversation, they all look up and see the big dragon. He roars at them, and they all think about how it smells really bad. Most of the girls end up getting their clothes blown off. Kira says that they won't be able to stand up for the time being and reports that's probably caused due to the sudden influx of magical energy that the evil dragon had released. The master asks what is going on and realizes that the evil dragon seems to be much stronger than all the powerful people that were there. Shakira defends the master using an ice shield and says that he needs to be careful. The master thinks about how she is always helping him out and says that the dragon seems to be getting magic power from her relic made by the demons. The master thinks about how the evil dragon is a corpse who was revived with the power of an evil holy relic. Kira thinks about how if the dragon's strength came from evil energy, the master should be able to counteract it by pouring his good energy into it. He thinks about how it's impossible, but Kira keeps telling him that he can do it. They all tell him that he can't do that, but he decides that he will. He uses his gravity magic, and the source of the magical relic comes from humans, so that is why his whole body has similar effects to the relic. He feeds the monster, and they both go and talk to the cat once again. The cat tells them that they have finally done it and asks if there was anything suspicious within the royal capital. He says that he will send the messengers as quickly as possible. He says that at the end of the day, they had done what they needed to. He says that a great sage, former captain of the Knights Legion, and one of the best magical teachers of the country somehow took the appearance of a cat. The cat asks what's wrong and why the master is looking at her, and he says that he really wants to see what he looks like. He turns back into his human form and tells the master to have a good long look. He closes his eyes, and the cat goes back to its normal form. He wonders if she was playing tricks on him. This chapter starts as the master is going through the supply and thinking about how this is the food supply for the wolf and the goblin stripe, and so nobody should eat it. Melia enters the kitchen and says that it has been a while since she has seen him, and that she has missed him a lot. She tells him that she has really been wanting to see him, but lately she has been busy with the arrangements concerning the articles that she asked to display at the bazaar. He tells her that she has done her best. She tells him that she has decided to take a break, and that they can do a lot while she is free. He thinks about how small chests like Melia's and big chests like Ria's are both great. Milid asks if something is wrong, as the master had started to breathe heavily. He thinks about how Milid cannot be underestimated, and knowing that he loves her, he presumes she is purposely pressing them against her. She asks him to let's go find a room, but as they are headed towards the hallway, the wolf approaches them and tells Melia that she should not touch the master. Milid is surprised to see a demon waste and wonders why he's there, and asks him to shut up. She says that this is the hideout of the holy human, and that he should not be there. Master asks if this was their first time meeting each other, and introduces both of them to the other, telling Milich that this is the wolf from the wolf tribe, and a lot of things had happened before she had arrived. He tells her that they are responsible for the security surrounding the hideout. He introduces Milit as Milit from the Beerman tribe, and says that as expected, the master was incredible and had made very good friends. The wolf freaks out, saying that there is no way that this girl had a higher rank than her. They all ask him to relax, but he doesn't. The wolf thinks about how that means that she is one of the rare blessed people who arrived to live around the master, and that he cannot accept this and wonders if she really is the guard supervisor. He thinks about how there was a girl like her in a higher position than us. He decides that he wants to talk with her and that he wants to challenge her, to which she agrees. They both decide to begin fighting, and Milich seems physically excited. They both begin to fight each other, and as the wolf tries to throw a punch, not a lot of damage is done. Milit punches the wolf, and before she knows it, he is knocked out into the wall. She thinks that she can feel the power rising from deep inside and thanks the master. She says that it's obvious, or after thinking about it, Milich is more powerful than the wolves because she receives the master's blessing. Milich says that since the duel is over, she wants a guess. She tries to hold his face and bring it closer to her, but before she can, he begins to pull away. He thinks about how strong she is, but she says that she won't wait. He tells her that it is very dangerous for them to do anything here, but she pulls up her shirt and begins to try to seduce him. Before she can do anything, everybody else comes back, and they stop. This chapter starts as a girl charges in and tells the master that there is something important, and that there is an emergency. The master says that they should have knocked before entering. He says that he was not able to rest or sleep since the fight with the undead. He apologizes, and they all go and sit around the table. She tells him that she has received a message from Rachel, and it seems the Night Squad is coming to subjugate the human army. The master thinks about how since it seems that they have been discovered, they have no other choice but to face them head on, whether the demons or the knights. He thinks about how the day has finally come. The girl tells him that the 6th and 3rd squads are advancing towards the Austro forest and that she thinks they will be there in a few days. She says that there is no doubt about it. Ira says that she understands, but it would be normal if it was someone else involved in this. The master asks if the people that she was thinking of were strong, and she says that they were. She says that Empress Sarah was the 3rd in the squad captain, that she was the most powerful sorcerer among all night squads, and that Nash, the captain of the 6th squad, was known as Flash, and he was stronger than her. The master thinks about how, as expected, there was no way to weaken a person who would be a captain. They all decide that they need to come up with a strategy tonight. The master decides that he needs to make all the arrangements and thinks about how Rose is willing to let others see her nude body if she can use the occasion. As he is running, he thinks about how he will finally get to admire her breasts. He approaches the bath, and the girls are talking about how it is great. The master sits there and tells them that they had done a good job as he introduces Conan. They think about how people are coming one after the other, and therefore it is very complicated to grasp each other's information. He tells Rose that Conan is now living with them, to which Rose is shocked and surprised, but the master tells her that they do not have that kind of a relationship. Conan grabs his hand and places it on her breasts and says that the master loves her little breasts. Rose gets out of the pool and places the other hand on her breast and says that he loves her more. They both begin to argue and ask the master which ones he prefers, to which he says that size is important but that the feeling on his hand was the most crucial. Ira walks up and asks the master to grab hers, to which after grabbing, he says that they are not as big as Rose's and not as small as Conan's. Rose insists that she is quite confident that he will feel good while touching them. They all begin to feel very envious of each other and begin to fight. As Yuji fed Lime, he said that there were only 2 days left before the human subjugation operation, and he was fooling around yesterday, but it was time that they think about countermeasures. Ria asked if he should evacuate to the Alverny family's territory, and Yuji asked if she was talking about Rose's. Ria agreed and told him that his safety would be guaranteed more easily if he hid within the royal capital. Yuji agreed and said that the enemy would never imagine the human army's leader would hide himself within their territory, and asked for her opinion. She said that she would be lonely there without Yuji, but she would endure it because she did not want him to die. Yuji felt happy that she thought so much of him, but he was still anxious about the fact that he had to hide in safety while Ria and others had to fight to protect the hideout. Someone else said from behind that they had understood the situation, and everyone was shocked by who it was. Out of a sudden, Futaba got out from under the table and said that it would not be necessary for Yuji to hide in the royal capital. She added that once the terminal on the 3rd floor was finished, he would be able to teleport anywhere in the world in the blink of an eye, so he would be able to easily escape in case of an attack. Yuji was confused about whether his problem was solved or not. She also said that all the hideout's features would cease functioning if Yuji stayed away for a long period of time, and it would be very troublesome because the source of power for that hideout was Yuji's power. Yuji agreed with her and said that she was right. She told him that, by using the terminal, he would be able to come and go to the hideout at will. Yuji agreed and said that he could avoid risky situations that way. As they were leaving, Futaba said that she would be able to perform a similar strategy once the 3rd floor was completed. Then she would leave the house in their care. As they walked through a lot of trees, they knew it was the 3rd floor. Ria asked Yuji to be careful as she thought there was something weird about the plants there. Kanon said that she would make a path and asked both of them to follow her. She used her ice magic to clear a path for them. Yuji found it incredible and said that she was far stronger than him when it came to water element magic. Suddenly, Yuji found a mushroom on the floor and was going to pick it, as he saw a rainbow-colored mushroom for the first time. Ria jumped over him to stop him from doing so. He asked her if she was okay. Kanon told him that it was really bad and that the mushroom was called the Mushroom of Truth by the demon folk, and it was famous for being used as a truth serum on war prisoners. She told him that its spores were able to bring out the deepest desires of people who inhaled them, and it was said that a middle-aged married couple broke apart after eating that mushroom. As Ria had smelled the fumes of the mushroom, she would be expressing her true feelings from that point on. Suddenly, Ria shouted and told Yuji that she loved him. She said that she felt it from the bottom of her heart and couldn't help thinking about Yuji. She added that she loved everything about Yuji and wanted to spend every single minute of her life taking care of him. Yuji got very confused and just said thanks. She said she could already picture herself taking care of him when he grew old and that her heart started beating so fast. Yuji got more confused and found it scary. He thought that he had once heard that women felt happy when they devoted themselves to worthless men, and it seemed to him like Ria was that type of woman. Since elves had a long lifespan, that day was highly probable. Ria started sweating and said she felt jealous every time she saw Yuji kissing other women and that he only belonged to her. However, Yuji thought that Ria didn't care about him fooling around with other women. But obviously, that wasn't the case, as there was no way a woman would easily tolerate that kind of behavior. He thought she tolerated it so more women could come in, and the human army would strengthen. Suddenly, Ria came back to her senses and ran away, realizing and shouting what she had done. Yuji said that it would be dangerous if she lost her way in the jungle, and Kanon ran after her. She grabbed Ria and brought her back, but Ria didn't want to come as she was embarrassed to see Yuji. Yuji thought that Ria was anxious, thinking that he was angry, so he grabbed the mushroom and took a bite. Yuji told Ria that he loved her and that he liked everything about her. Ria got very shocked and started blushing. Yuji totally understood why Ria ran away and how embarrassing it was, but before he could run away, Ria shouted that her love for Yuji was greater than Yuji's. They both argued over this and hugged each other. Before they could do anything else, Kanon stepped in and stopped them. She asked them to resume their exploration as there were only 2 days left before the assault. Yuji said that they had been in the jungle for 2 hours, and Ria asked where the golem was. Suddenly, they spotted the golem behind the trees. It was the first time Yuji was watching it. It started to attack all of them, and Ria and Kanon used their magics to attack it in return. Yuji thought that the power of their attacks was incredible, but he couldn't let his guard down. After all, the enemy was created by a human. He also recalled Kazumi, telling him that the golems would become more powerful as they went underground. Suddenly, Yuji got surprised as the golems stopped attacking. It surrendered, and everyone looked at it in shock. As the button was pressed, the golem said that it acknowledged Yuji as its new master. The golem came out as a girl and introduced herself as Misuzu, the golem guardian of the 3rd floor. Yuji confirmed with her if the battle was over. Misuzu said that she was not like her sisters and she didn't like violence. She told them that she avoided fighting, and it would be beneficial for both parties if she surrendered first. Yuji told her that he had been told that it would be possible for him to instantly teleport to any location in the world once that area was opened. She said he'd surely heard that from Futaba and offered to guide them. As soon as they started walking, Misuzu fell. Yuji confirmed if she was okay, and she just said thank you. She felt a little embarrassed and said that it had been a long time since she had spoken with another person, so she got a little excited. Everyone wondered if she was alright or not. She took them to the terminal and told them that they had arrived. Standing in front of the warp device, she told them that it was the centerpiece of the 3rd floor. She said they could teleport to any city they had already visited by using that machine, and everyone thought of it as a ticket booth. Yuji asked if she was sure about it. To prove him, she said she would warp him to the Beerman's village. Ria asked Yuji to stop her, and Kanon also agreed, saying that she had a bad feeling about it. Yuji thought that they were nervous since it was their first time seeing that kind of machine, so he told them that they were just warping to the village, so they would be fine. And it was also important to perform a test run before the battle. Misuzu said that she had made the arrangements and asked Yuji to take the paper coming out from the machine. Yuji told them that in his previous world, such tickets were used for taking trains, but it seemed like 10,000 years ago, people from that world used them to travel to any desired location, and said that they didn't have to be amazed by that level of human technology. Misuzu told them that they could return to the hideout by thinking, "I want to go back." She warned them not to lose it, and everyone understood. She told Yuji that he had to think of the place where he wanted to be teleported to. Yuji started thinking of Milia, as she was the first person that came to his mind when he thought of the village. Misuzu said that the output was still inefficient, and he had to allow his mental image to expand a little more. He then started thinking of Rose, and he could perfectly picture her. Ria and Kanon were scared. What was going to happen? The processing was complete, and Misuzu warped Yuji, and he suddenly disappeared. Yuji immediately got off the place where he was teleported to. It was very hot. He was in a bath and tried to figure out where he was. As he turned back, he saw Rose there, asking what he was doing there. He figured out that he was teleported to Rose's location as he was thinking of her, so it meant he was at the royal capital. He went to Rose and asked her why she yelled when she saw him. Yuji suddenly realized that it was very bad for him, as it would get very troublesome if he was seen in that territory. As Rose saw someone coming in, she immediately pushed him and sat on him to hide him. Yuji started thinking that he was supposed to be transported to Beerman's village, but he was put into this unexpected situation. And he had also lost his ticket. The girl that came into the bath told Rose that she thought she heard a man's voice, but she was wrong. Rose asked her to stop joking, as it was a female bath, and there was no way a man would be there. As Rose called her Captain Sarah, Yuji realized that she was Captain Rose, and Ria mentioned. The captain asked Rose if the preparations were progressing for the human subjugation tomorrow. Rose told her that they had recruited more soldiers than expected and had exceeded their initial estimate by 130%. The captain said it was a good thing they were passionate, as she thought everyone wanted to make great achievements by defeating a human. Hearing this, Yuji realized that Rose was also participating in the operation, and he didn't have to worry about his companions at the hideout anymore, since she would be intervening as his spy. They both kept talking, and Yuji wondered if the conversation was going to end anytime soon. Yuji couldn't hold his breath underwater anymore, so he accidentally touched Rose, and she moaned. The captain asked her if everything was all right, and she said everything was fine. She said she was doing some mental simulations for tomorrow's operations, so the captain apologized for disturbing her and said she wanted good results from her. Yuji started moving at this point, for Rose sat on his face, hoping that he wouldn't get up. However, he couldn't take it anymore and got out. He started breathing heavily and said it was dangerous. As the captain saw him, he told Rose that there was something bothering her. She asked him who that guy was and why he was inside the knight's dormitory bath. Rose got confused and didn't know what to say. She asked Rose if she couldn't tell her. However, Rose just apologized. She said that the man had been assigned to her as her subordinate, and he was new there. Yuji was completely shocked listening to this. The captain asked why he was in the women's bath and asked if he was Rose's lover because Rose hated men. Rose said that she was training as unexpected situations could happen while fighting humans. It was kind of a simulation as a countermeasure against unexpected situations. Yuji didn't think the captain would be fooled by this and got very scared. However, the captain said she was really interested in this special training. She asked Yuji what his name was, and he said Amazaki Yuji. She looked him in the eyes, got him on her shoulders, saying that he was very interesting and asked if he wanted to become her subordinate. When Rose tried saying something, the captain said that he was also her subordinate, as she was also assigned to the third squad. Rose panicked and said it would be troublesome for her, and it was not convenient for her at all. However, the captain said that she would not repeat it twice, and it was an order from her captain. The captain told Yuji that she would be counting on him from now onwards. She showed him her room and asked him to sit down and relax. As they sat in the captain's room, the captain asked him not to get nervous, and she wouldn't eat him. Yuji was not sure if she believed everything that Rose told her about him, and that's why she recruited him. Yuji was curious about a lot of things, but he asked her to get some clothes on. The captain asked why she should do so. Yuji blushed and said he was a man, and if she stayed in her outfit, unexpected things could happen. The captain got very excited and said it's been a long time since someone talked to her that way. The captain asked him the reason women hide their bodies in clothes, and Yuji replied, maybe they're shy. She told him that he was wrong and that back when clothes were not created, seeing naked bodies was not shameful. Yuji agreed with her, and she said that the main reason why women hide their bodies was to protect themselves from men. The captain told him that she was uneasy about the battle and was looking for someone to support her. Yuji confirmed if she was talking about him, and he was right. He realized that his real identity had not been exposed. Yuji asked for the reason, and she said there was nothing special about her choice, and he was just an ordinary newbie. She added that her guts told her there was something mysterious lying dormant deep inside him, and she felt it the first time she saw him. She added that the only thing he possessed held the key to their victory. Yuji thought that she was dangerous, as she felt a part of his human strength without any evidence. However, she said that it was just her opinion and reality might be different. For example, people fighting at the 5th floor of a dungeon can perceive how strong those who are fighting at the 50th floor are, but they're unable to picture the real strength of those fighting monsters at the 5th floor. She added that Rose was not the best choice, as she could see through her, and so she was interested in Yuji. She asked Yuji if he would come with her to fight the battle against the humans. Yuji found it a great opportunity, as he had already lost his ticket. He agreed to her, saying that he would go to fight against the humans for the peace of their world. The next day, the 3rd squad of Lord Midgard's Holy Knights welcomed Yuji as a new recruit. Soldiers didn't like having a boy on their team and thought maybe the captain liked him, but one of them added that such a normal guy was not the captain's type. Yuji also thought that there were all girls. The captain said, excluding Yuji, all her squad was composed of girls. The captain commanded that they would be departing in the evening to assault the enemy's hideout the next morning. So that morning would be their final training session, and she wanted the best from everyone. All the soldiers started training. One of the soldiers defeated everyone all by herself, and Yuji was very amazed to see this. Sarah told him that Marvell was currently strengthening herself with her special assist magic, and even a group of hundreds of swordsmen could not match her in her current state. Yuji thought that the purpose of that training was to teach cooperation. Sarah told Yuji that he was next, so he got very frightened and asked if he was also going to participate. She replied that she had to see his fighting abilities before sending him into battle. Yuji didn't know what to do, as he did not want to harm the opponent by using his human power. His opponent was very angry and wanted to kill him. However, Yuji decided not to use his human powers at first. He tried to make a regular attack, but it did not affect the opponent at all. It was so bad that the opponent asked if he was taking it seriously. Yuji realized that if he kept doing the same, the captain would turn her back on him, and he would not be able to go to his hideout. He suddenly realized that he could secretly follow the squad. The opponent asked Sarah if it would be a crime if she accidentally killed Yuji, but she said it would be considered an accident. Yuji realized that the opponent really wanted to kill him. She jumped at him and attacked him with her sword, but before she could, Yuji used his power and threw her away, and everyone was shocked. Yuji realized that the body's strengthening magic automatically activated when it detected danger. Sarah asked Yuji what it was. Suddenly, a woman came in and asked the captain what was going on. Sarah explained that it was a training session to make the last adjustments. Yuji realized that the woman was the captain of the 6th squad, Nash. She found this training very funny and started laughing. Nash said to Sarah that she was considered the knight's most powerful magician and asked if she was afraid of humans. Sarah replied that she was underestimating humans, as she had investigated that the amount of mana possessed by just one human was more than 100,000 times the amount they possessed. But Nash wasn't ready to listen. Nash opposed her and said if she was right, the world would have been gone by then. Sarah asked why she came there, and she said that she had a message from Kazuo-sama. She said that they had to finish the travel preparations earlier than planned and head to the Ostra forest about 2 hours ahead of schedule. Nash started annoying her by saying she wasn't only there for the message, and said to Sarah that her fondness for elves never changed, and reminded her how passionate she was about Ria. She said that Ria might be alive somewhere with eyes in the back of her head and might be gathering information about humans. As she kept insulting Ria, Yuji got very furious. However, he calmed himself down by thinking that going home was more important than getting Nash. A soldier approached with an army and told the captain that the entire army was ready to move. The captain thanked Rose for making all the preparations but told her that she was discharged from the mission. This shocked Yuji and Rose. Rose asked the reason why she could not participate in the mission. The captain told her that she had been hiding something from her and she could not trust her anymore. She added that she found it dangerous to take her to the battlefield. Rose asked about who was going to replace her as a vice captain since the coordination between the captain and vice captain was compulsory, but the captain asked her not to worry. She added that Yuji was going to replace her as a vice captain. This brought Yuji a sudden shock, and he asked if she was really okay with him. The captain said that she decided it after she saw his fight with Marvel, as she found Yuji really interesting. The captain was very confident about the mission, but Rose and Yuji got very confused as he was the human she was talking about. Later, the soldiers lined up at the forest, and the captain said that the hideout was located somewhere in the forest, but they were not aware of the exact location. She commanded the teens where they should go to start investigating it. Yuji was really looking forward to joining Ria and the others. As they started walking, the captain found the forest eerie due to high mana. Someone shouted at them to watch out and said there was something about them. Suddenly, rocks started falling from above, and the captain predicted it as the goblins doing. She pointed to them, sitting in the bushes, planning to attack from the side. Yuji ran away, thinking that if both parties walked into each other like that, huge damage would be done. The captain asked him where he was going. He went behind the bushes and asked the people where Oral was. As he was told that he was above, Yuji used his body-strengthening magic to climb up and asked Oral to stop the assault. Oral was surprised to see Yuji there and asked what he was doing in the enemy army. Yuji said he would explain everything later, but asked him to stop the assault immediately. Oral said that the enemies were at the human army's headquarters, and they could not let them off so easily. Yuji changed his order and asked them to throw safer objects at them. Yuji rushed quickly before Sarah got suspicious about him. As he was running to Sarah, he tripped and fell on her. She asked him where he went, and Yuji said he wanted to go to the toilet. She showed him that the goblins started throwing apples instead of stones, and said it was unusual for them to throw valuable goods like food at someone. She asked if it was a trap, and if the apples might be poisoned. However, Yuji suggested they should move further quickly. As they approached a cave, Yuji felt relieved as he had finally returned home. The captain was sure that the human was inside the cave. The captain warned everyone that they might have to confront anything, so they must stay strong. She also asked Yuji to stay beside her. Suddenly, they got attacked by slime, and the captain thought if the monster inside was a slime. The captain asked everyone to get down and threw a burning bullet at the enemies. The captain asked everyone to go further as it was dangerous to remain there. As they entered the cave, Happen asked Yuji to stop as she thought there was something ahead. It was Lime was standing there furiously. Yuji had made it back to the hideout but didn't know how to repel the knights. The captain thought of Lime as an individual with overwhelming mana and thought if she was the human. Lime tried to attack the captain, but she saved herself. The captain told her that she had activated the demon blood inside her and apologized as she couldn't control her strength. Lime roared in anger and attacked her. As they both kept fighting, Yuji watched them and thought that despite being that strong, Lime was not a human, but maybe she would be okay with retreating if she knew about his powerful comrades and his true nature. He didn't know if she would believe him or not, but in that situation he preferred staying quiet. Suddenly there was a huge explosion and everyone fell on the floor. As the fumes settled, Nash appeared, saying that she defeated the human. Sarah asked her what she meant and where her men were. She said she didn't know and started making fun of Sarah's soldiers. This made Sarah really angry. She got up and ran to Nash to attack. Nash grabbed her as soon as she approached her and said she'd make sure to take care of her once she had swallowed the human. Sarah cried out in court. Maybe Nash sold her soul to the devil, but Nash didn't give a proper reply and just threw her away. However, Arm grabbed her before she could fall, and the captain asked how he did it. He said he'd explain it to her later as she needed rest at the moment. Nash kept laughing while watching this and said to Yuji that she thought he was just Sarah's minion. But it seemed he could move quite well and asked who he was. However, Yuji said he had something to ask first and asked where she got her powers from. She asked him not to answer her question with a question. She told him that he wore a mask and was from the demon tribe. Yuji immediately understood it was Grace. She told him that the demon gave her that power in exchange for just having to find the human's hideout and take a part of his dead body back. This was exactly what Yuji had expected. She told Yuji that it was his turn to answer and said that she knew he was not just a common Newman and she could sense something weird from him. Yuji told her that he was the human she was looking for, and she started laughing loudly. She asked him if he really was a human, then he should be able to see through her moves. Yuji had already expected her to be that quick and told her that he could see through it. She tried attacking him, but he escaped. Nash was brought to a shock and asked if he was really the human they were looking for, but Yuji said he had already answered that question. She suddenly transformed into a monster and told Yuji that he was dead. However, Yuji got very angry and punched her really hard. Nash felt so much pain that she held her stomach for a while. Yuji said that it was for Lime and Sarah. Nash was so angry that she started roaring and got ready to attack Yuji. Before she could hit him, O jumped above her and kicked her away. Before kicking her, he said that this one was for insulting Ria. Nash started screaming as she fell. As Yuji knocked her out, Uptane asked if he was alright. He went to the captain and apologized because he hadn't told her anything about it. Yuji felt embarrassed as he knew that the captain would not forgive him because he had been deceiving her all that time. However, the captain told him that she was ready and asked him to kill her quickly. Yuji was very amazed when his eyes opened wide after listening to this. He tried to lighten the mood and started laughing, saying that he would not kill her. The captain did not believe him at all and was very shocked. She confirmed if she had heard it right, and Yuji agreed. The captain told him that he was very naive and said that her mission was to kill Yuji. She added that if Yuji let her live, she would come back to kill him again. Yuji replied, saying that from his perspective, she was the one who was naive. He added that if she really wanted to kill him, she could just pretend to be defeated and sneak attack him while he was trying to save her. This seemed to really affect the captain. Yuji seemed to be worried about the captain's condition and said they needed to heal her wounds first. Since his healing magic was not strong enough, he offered her his hand and said she would have to lick it to heal her wounds. The captain did as she was told and licked his hand. The captain seemed to get better, and Yuji said it looked like she had healed. Suddenly, the captain got confused and screamed, asking what the hell she was doing. She realized that it had the same effect as relic. However, the captain started blushing and told Yuji that it was still delicious. She said she only licked it, but it felt like her body was melting. Yuji understood it and asked her to take her squad and retreat once she felt better. She also asked her to take Nash with them. The captain felt overwhelmed and told him that he's quite something. She told him that he was not only letting the enemy commander go but even healed her wounds, even though with his power, he could eliminate all of them. She suddenly got serious and asked Yuji what his objective was. Yuji said he wanted to be useful to someone because that's what he swore the moment he got summoned into that world. However, he added that human mana was too overwhelming in that world. As he kept speaking, Yuji heard someone calling him from behind. As he turned back, he saw Kazumi, Ria, and Kanon. Kazumi said that things were getting noisy up there because of the master and welcomed him back. Kanon also welcomed him, and Ria was so glad that he was there that she started crying. Suddenly, the whole army came in as they heard a huge sound, and as they saw Yuji, they asked if he was all right. He told everyone that he was fine. Yuji told the captain that he just wanted to live in peace with his friends. Misuzu also came to him crying and hugged him. However, Yuji said that he was still willing to have a rematch with her if she still wanted to, and it would be just between him and her. The captain said that she admitted her defeat, and it was the first time she had faced such humiliation. As she was leaving, she called Yuji and said she hoped he would not regret the fact that he let her go that day. After that day, the captain and her knights never came back to attack Yuji's hideout. The captain also never spoke about Yuji or his comrades, but she still reported to Nash about how he collaborated with a demon to try and exterminate the Night Squad. Apparently, it seemed like she reported that Nash had killed Yuji. Rose came to Yuji and asked where Onisama was. He started smiling and thought of it. Everyone was fixing the damage as it was finally the peaceful days and recovery days. Lime suddenly breaks through the wall, calling Tom and asking him to come with her. A few days after the event with the Knights, Bong was finally able to see Ria and Kanon again. Apparently, they went to the royal capital after hearing he was sent there, but it seemed that they missed each other there. They both apologized to Yuji, and Ria said that she was so sorry she wasn't there at such a crucial moment. Yuji said it was fine, and he was glad that both were fine. Ria started telling him how amazing he was. She said she was amazed by how he was able to infiltrate the enemy forces and even managed to come back using their resources. She couldn't think of any words other than incredible that would describe what he had done. Yuji argued that, putting everything aside, there was still a lot of luck involved. However, Ria said that it was still expected of him, and Kanon also added that he was amazing. Yuji got confused and said that it was quite an interesting group they had there. Suddenly, Captain Sarah stepped in, and everyone was shocked to see her. Kanon asked Yuji who she was, and he told her that she was the Night Squad's captain. Ria asked her what she was doing there. The captain said she could ask the same question. She asked if Yuji was such a good man that Ria, who was once called the Demon General, was fine with serving under him. This got Ria very angry, and she asked Yuji to step back, saying that the captain was a dangerous woman, and she was going to exterminate her right there. The captain asked her not to say such dangerous words and said she had not come there to fight. Not that day, at least. She tossed a bag to Yuji, and he realized it was his clothes that he forgot. Yuji apologized and thanked her, but before he could complete his sentence, the captain kissed him, and Kanon was very shocked to see what was happening. The captain said that Yuji was utterly unguarded, just as she had expected. Ria went into deep shock and asked Sarah-san what she was doing. But she casually replied that she could call her just Sarah, and they could get along like ordinary people. Sarah told them that after their battle ended, she kept thinking about how she could defeat a human. That's when she had an idea. She said there was no way to defeat a human other than using his own power against him. So she was going to fully satisfy the perverted attitude of Yuji for the time being. As she began, Yuji didn't feel very good about it, but he was also unable to decline her as it was the dream of every man in that world. However, Sarah enjoyed it so much that she was losing her mind. As they both proceeded, Ria was still in deep shock, so Kanon went to get a bucket of water and splashed it on her face. As soon as Ria got back to her senses, she pushed Sarah and asked her to get away from him. She told him that if she continued to harm Yuji, would have to kill her right there. Sarah argued that she was not doing anything forcefully, and Yuji was appreciating it as well. Ria shouted that there was no way her Yuji would like such an immoral girl, but Sarah told her that she was mistaken. She told him that Yuji kept eyes on her when they met earlier, and she was very sure that he was interested in her. Ria got very angry and asked Yuji if he had taken a bath with her. Suddenly, the bag of clothes fell, and Ria grabbed a pair of shorts that fell out of it. Yuji tried to explain that they got wet when he got teleported into the bath, so he had to replace them. She still scolded Yuji, saying that he was the leader of the human army, and they could not afford to let him be stolen by a stranger. Sarah hugged him and said he was hers. They both asked Yuji who he was going to choose. Yuji was confused and uncertain about it. Suddenly, Line said that he had to choose her as well and got on Yuji. Milia suddenly came in to see all this happening. As they left the room, Deer asked Yuji if he was sure he had not forgotten anything inside. Yuji assured her that he had already checked. They had decided to transfer their location to the 3rd floor because Yuji thought it would be more efficient to be closer to the warp machine in case of any emergency. Yuji got confused when he suddenly saw light coming out of the wall and started to investigate it. Ria asked him if everything was alright, and he inquired if she also saw the light. However, Ria didn't see anything, and Kanan was also looking in another direction. Yuji set his belongings down and said he would take a closer look. As he examined the wall, Yuji thought that the person who built that hideout was quite a strange fellow, as they had created several secret sections within it. He believed there could be a hidden path behind that wall. As Yuji touched the wall, his hand went through it. He was shocked to realize he could pass through the wall. Ria asked if it was some kind of magic illusion. As Yuji passed through the wall, he thought that Cash wanted to hide that room so badly that they used magic for it. He began wondering what was inside. As he approached a desk, there was a printer on top and papers scattered on the floor. Ria and Kanan were amazed to see the paper and considered it a groundbreaking discovery. They were astonished by the quality of the paper, which was completely white. Ria suggested trying to print something, but Kanan feared being teleported to another location again. Yuji operated the printer to print a map of the forest, and everyone was amazed to see that it worked. Both were very impressed by Yuji for being able to produce such an important document instantly, but Yuji was confused because he didn't think it was a big deal. Ria got very excited about the printer, but Yuji said she was exaggerating. She stood by her words, saying that a civilization would cease to exist if its culture was not passed on to the next generation, no matter how advanced it was. Lime asked what they should use the machine for, and Yuji began thinking about it. Ria suggested they could print documents detailing their magnificence and share them worldwide. She added that since those documents would be describing Yuji, she thought they could give them a special name and suggested the name Holy Scriptures. Yuji said he had a better idea, and Ria asked about it. Yuji had the best lifestyle he could wish for, a formidable living environment, beautiful girls, and delicious food. But there was only one thing missing. He said he wanted to use the machine to create manga since he was currently living in a fantasy world. He was told that there was no manga or anime-like entertainment in that world, so he had to give up on the idea. Ria and Kanan asked what manga was since they had never heard of it before. Yuji drew it and showed them what it was. Both girls were amazed to see it, and Kanan said she also wanted to draw. She wasn't sure what to draw, so Yuji told her to put a vision of her world on paper. She felt like a god in front of the paper because she could draw anything she liked. As she showed him the first drawing, Yuji was amazed to see that she knew how to draw. They asked him to organize a public announcement to spread manga culture. Yuji agreed to it and thought he could also invite members from outside the hideout. 2 weeks later, Home organized a manga contest in Beerman's village. Adai was also there, and she was glad that the villagers had some entertainment. Yuji gave candies to every kid that participated. She asked him if he really meant to offer any favor to the winner. Yuji said he would do anything in his power because offering candy was not enough to motivate the participants. Ria knew she could ask for any favor since she had worked hard on her drawings. However, Kanan told her that she couldn't win the contest solely based on her drawings, and they both started arguing over who would win, leading to a civil war. Ria called Yuji and asked him to look at the manga she had drawn. Yuji started looking at it, and she asked how it was since she had done her best. It was better than Yuji thought it would be, and she was very skillful. However, the elf girl who was her rival was being violated by an orc, a solitary antagonist who was considered the evil mastermind. She told Yuji that she had created the protagonist with herself and Yuji as models. Yuji asked her if it was true. Yuji thought that if times were better, her story would have the power to take the world by storm. Ria started crying after looking at it and said it was about a woman's world that a man could never understand, and that it was incredible. He told Maria that he would announce the results later. Then Kanan came up with her manga. She said she was confident about the title and thought it was stylish to put furigana characters above the letters. Yuji had a look at her story as well. He found it amazing and asked if she had thought of all that by herself. She told him that he had asked her to create her world on paper after all. Ria felt a little jealous watching this. As Yuji kept reading, he was so excited he couldn't stop turning the pages over to see what was waiting for that girl at the end of the battles. She asked Yuji what he thought of it, and he said she drew the battle scenes really well. Finally, Thea showed up with her story, and Yuji wondered how it was as she had worked 3 days non-stop on it. The title of the story was Forbidden Love. She asked Yuji what he thought about it and said it was 100 pages long, a series about a love romance between a master and her. Yuji was very amazed that she had done 100 pages in just 2 weeks. As Yuji saw all these stories, he realized he had too much manga based on him. He looked at all these stories and thought that the participants were real and the others from the hideout and some children from the village, so he didn't know how to choose the winner. Based on their drawing abilities, Thea was the first, followed by Maria, and finally Kanon. However, Kanon had the best story, followed by Maria, and then Ria. Suddenly, Ade came in and said there was still one left and asked Yuji to take a look at her manga too. Maria was not very happy about Ade participating. It was a story about falling in love with her rebellious little sister. She asked Yuji how it was, and he said she was a genius. Ade was announced as the winner, and everyone was shocked to hear this. Yuji said that her manga would surely become popular. This way, the manga contest ended with the discovery of an unexpected talent. This chapter starts with Yoji thinking that he is in heaven. He wonders if there is anything better than this morning bath with 2 cute girls that are devoutly taking care of his body. He tells them that since they are done with his backside, they should probably start with the other one. He thinks about how it's just like having a meal of salmon on top of the best quality of Japanese beef. As he turns over, he sees Sarah approaching him. She approaches him as a sheep and looking for him. Sarah hands over Kanon a piece of candy, and she runs away. He thinks about how she was able to buy her with just a piece of candy. Ria tells her to stay back and to stay away from the master, but Sarah says that she was here to enjoy a good bath. That since she had gotten a day off, she wasn't going to just laze around. She says that it's not like she's planning to kill Yoji today or tomorrow, and that she should not be stiff. She begins to bathe herself as Ria asks her what she is doing. Stop. Ria tells Sarah that it is their daily routine that they were running the master's back. Sarah says that they were doing it the wrong way and wonders if this is the kind of service that they are giving to the master. Line begins to get angry and asks her what she means. Sarah does not back off. She says that she meant what she said and that she was just saying that she would be able to service him much better. Line gets very angry and asks her to take it back. The master thinks about how he has to admit that the quality of their services deserves a lot of points, and he understands why they are angry. Ria thinks about how she agrees with Ria and that since Sarah is so confident that she should prove it first. Sarah says that it looks like she will have to perform a demonstration and takes the soap. They all think about how Sarah can't possibly do it, to which she says that if she wins, then she will have used lips for an hour. Ria says that if she wins, then Sarah will have to promise them that she will never step foot in the hideout again. Yoji thinks about how in order to beat a human, they would have no other choice but to use his power against him. Begins to start, but instead of putting the soap on him, she begins to put it on herself. She tells them to observe and that the real adventure will start now. Sarah thinks about how this doesn't prove anything as the only thing that she did was rub soap on her own body. Sarah sits down on the master's face and asks him how it feels to have his face washed with her backside. Yoji thinks about how this is too much and that the environment around him has completely turned. He wonders what's worse than having his face assaulted, but thinks about how it's not that bad of a feeling. He thinks about how he can't think of anything else, that his mind is going blank, and that it's just painful as there is soap entering his nose. He thinks about how he needs to be honest with himself, that this time forbidden fetishes are starting to rise up inside him. Ria says that she cannot allow this any longer and asks Sarah to get away from the master. She asks her what she is doing and says that her master is not that kind of person and that there is no way that he would feel good considering what she is doing. Upon hearing them, he thinks about how he feels sorry that they had so much trust in him. He asks her to take the towel off to prove that he enjoyed the massage. As Sarah backs off, the master takes on a fetal position. Sarah tells them that she had won the bet, and therefore she had his lips for an hour. He says that he wants to clear up one thing, that he did not have this fetish before, but since he had transferred into this world, it had developed. He thinks about how he is not the kind of pervert who would feel that way, but that he could not be helped. A few days later, he thinks about how Ria is angry at him since the incident in the bathroom. She had started to ignore him every time he tried to talk to her and was definitely avoiding him. He thinks about her. This is the first time that something like this has happened, and that Ria had never acted like this no matter what. He asks Misuzu what to do in order to reconcile with her. That things had happened, and they were on really bad terms. Misuzu tells him that they should just take a vacation together. He thinks about how that would mean that the power source would be away from the hideout and asks if that would be okay, to which she says that he should not worry, and that they should just use the terminal area on the 3rd floor. The chapter starts as Yoji finishes the list of that world's 3 greatest touristic places that anybody could visit in one day. He thinks about how on Alterfia's biggest continent, Sheeptoll, there were 3 great locations that were famous for their tourist spots. The first was a tree located in the east. It was the greatest tree in the world and said to be 10,000 meters tall, surrounded by a luxurious natural environment. It was a famous romantic spot appreciated by young couples. The second one was located in the south. It was a plain where anyone could observe the stone statues, one of the world's mysteries. Nobody knew who built them, but Yoji had heard that the faces were sculpted by taking the faces of old married couples as models. The last one was the Hunat ruins, apparently a vestige from an ancient human civilization that researchers were still investigating. He thinks about how he is sure that Rio would like the spot since she had a strong sense of respect towards humans. He tells Misuzu that he thinks this plan was perfect and thanks her for helping him out. He thinks about how the last thing that he asked to figure out is how to teleport to those tourist spots. He thinks about how, if he's remembered correctly, the warp machine could only teleport people to locations that they have already been to. Misuzu says that this is right, but that there is an exception. By reminiscing the face of an acquaintance, they would be able to teleport to the acquaintance's current location. Yoji said that that is correct, but that the problem is that he doesn't know anybody who lives in those places. Sarah says that it looks like there was something worrying him, and they both get shocked, having not expected her. Sarah takes the paper from him and reads out what is written. She says that it brings back memories as she was sent to those places for investigation back in the time when she was not part of the night squad yet. She says that she would be able to teleport to most of the locations if he uses her. From what she got, she understood that this was a trip to reconcile things with Raya. She says that she would take the usual as a reward, that the rights over his lips for a longer duration would be more than enough. He asks how she knows about the functioning of the work device. She says that she knows about much more as well and says that it is normal after spending time in the hideout. He thinks about how, in the current state of things, there is no one who knows more about the hideout than her. She says that she is currently investigating the greatest mystery of the hideout, which was the secret behind men's power source. She adds that even she would be able to make it move with enough intake of relics. To which Yoji gets angry and asks her to stop investigating without his permission. Ria runs towards Sarah and says that she will not let her get away that easily. She asks Sarah to get away and that she won't forgive her if she disrespected the master again. Sarah says that it is her who's being disrespectful, as Yu is planning a trip for the both of them. As she walks away, she tells her that she's really pretty, and Ria thinks about how she might have committed some kind of unforgivable act. She turns to the master and tells him that he thought the situation was different, and that she thought he liked when girls acted coldly towards him. She asks him if he hates her, to which he says that he does not, and says that they clearly don't need to go on a trip. Ria says that he had become everything for her the moment they had met. The master tells her that he had planned a trip for the both of them, but since she was not angry, they did not have to go. To which he says that in that case he should go with Kanon, and that since demon bees could appear anytime, she was not confident about being able to protect him on her own. Yoji thinks about how Sarah's behavior becomes unbearable, that they could just abandon her after she guides them to the locations. Back in the town, Gray gets frustrated over how he had failed again and wonders how he would perfectly duplicate human cells. Arisa approaches him, and he asks her how she is doing, to which she says that she had just come to the city wondering what he was up to. Gray says that if she had come to mock him, she should just leave, and that he will not waste any more time on her. He tells her that he is a part of the human group, which is steadily building up their hideout and defenses within the forest. Without a doubt, if he kept wasting energy like this, there won't be any chance of him getting what he wants. She asks him what his final objective is, to which she says that if she is correct, the chamber where the weapon is required the power of a human. The ancient weapon, which according to the legends, was responsible for the human race's extinction. He again asks her what she wants, to which she says that she is willing to help him. She says that she has some good information and says that she wants to be the most precious relic among the ones that he would get if her plan was successful. She tells him that he is nothing but a greedy fellow and that it is okay. She thinks about how she will never let Kanon and Yoji be happy ever again. Yuji tells Kanon to take care of everything and to call them immediately if any problem occurs. Kanon says that it is familiar and that she will be guarding the hideout's surroundings. The master thinks about how it's demon talk, and therefore he understands. Ria tells the master that the preparation for the teleportation is finished. Sarah adds that it's all done with the tiny ticket that she is holding in her hand, and that it would be really hard to believe. Misuzu tells everyone to grab their ticket and to touch Sarah. She tells them that they really need to think hard about the destination that they want to go to and to think about it as clearly as possible. As they all begin to think about the place, they all appear there. Kanon looks at the tree in front of them and says that that must be the tree that the master was talking about, and it's so large that she cannot see the apex. Sarah says that the world tree appeared at the same moment that the human race disappeared from the world, and therefore its length currently is about 10,000 meters. In other words, it grows about 1 meter every year. Ria says that her only job was to guide them until there, and therefore she should wait for them until they finish. The master says that she shouldn't say that since she is already here, and that they should all enjoy it together. Sarah comments on how she is very jealous and says that they should quickly advance towards the world tree. People around them begin to notice and think about how someone as attractive as Yuji is getting so much attention. A woman close by starts shouting about how the world tree's sap is amazing and that they should get some. She says that it can have several effects, such as the recovery of any status ailments or reviving someone who is on the brink of death. The master thinks about how they are selling something quite interesting, and he begins to wonder how it would taste. He looks at the price and realizes that it looks quite expensive, but then realizes that he doesn't know how the currency works. Ria asks her if she can explain to him how it works, and he agrees. Sarah says that she had drunk it once before and that she can confirm that it is useful. She says that there is a high concentration of mana inside. Ria goes and purchases some, and the rest of them sit and wait for her to return. As she does, the master thanks her, and they all decide to have a taste. They all taste it, and the master thinks about how the aroma is like jelly, and that he can slightly feel the sweetness, but the bitter taste of the sap is very dominant. Sarah says that it is weird that she had tasted it, and that it tasted better the last time that she had drunk it. She thinks that she knows the reason, and that it was that compared to the taste at his lips, it didn't taste as good. He thinks about how it's totally normal not to find the world tree sap tasty even with the higher concentration of mana, as nothing surpasses the human power. She says that in order to remove this bad taste from his mouth, he should give her a kiss. Before she can kiss him, Ria grabs his arm and tells them that they need to go to the next spot. He thinks about how, as expected of the southern island, they can feel a summer-like feeling. He thinks about how there is nobody here, even though it is supposed to be a tourist spot, and they see a boat. They think that some of the people probably have left on it. They see a road and begin to wonder where it leads. Sarah says that it is used by divine bees. Their residents used to call it the Divine Road. In the end, they reach the most famous stone statues and realize there are 7 of them. The master thinks about how they are very interesting now that he can see them up close. He thinks about how the faces are quite weird, to which Kanon says that that is really harsh, but that it is true. The eyes of the statues light up, and Ria realizes that they had moved. Gray jumps out from behind them and calls out to the master and thanks them for the slumber. The master is quite shocked upon seeing him. This chapter begins as the master is approached by a group of butlers who thank him for waking them up from their slumber. The master thinks about how the stone statues have turned into humans and wonders if that means something. He asks them if they are perhaps the columns made by the human race, to which they say that they are. They explain that all of their mana got stolen by the antique weapon Ragnarok, which had turned all of them into statues. 2 of the other men say that a human's mana is what maintains them, and that is why they were expecting the master's arrival. The master thinks about how they seemed mysterious beforehand, but now that he knows who built them and what happened, he has lost his interest. Ria asks if they had said something about Ragnarok being an antique weapon, and said that it was supposed to be a divine beast that was living with humans in ancient times, or at least that was what the story had transmitted to them. The men say that the information itself was false, and that Ragnarok is a threat to the human race. The master thinks about how that reminds him of what they were talking about earlier. The men say that about 10,000 years ago, Ragnarok terminated the whole human race, which leaves all of them shocked. They continue by saying that even though their master had lived on the very island they were standing on and was from a very far-away civilization, he had lost his life due to Ragnarok. The master thinks about how he understands now and was always wondering how humans, despite being the most powerful race, no longer existed in the world. He thinks about how the ancient weapon Ragnarok had been such a threat to even exist in the first place, and he wonders what is going to happen if people had tried to use it against him. The master says that he has a question and asks if they perhaps know where Ragnarok is currently located. The men say that he should not worry, as they had heard that Ragnarok is actually sealed away deep inside an ancient drone located very far from where they were, and since the seal was performed by humans, it would be nearly impossible to undo it for people in this era. The master seems very relieved, thinking that Ragnarok's existence won't affect him. He says that there are many things that they have to talk about once they leave the island. The men say that they are sorry, but there is something important that they had forgotten to tell him. They express their desire to leave the island together with the rest of them and beg the master to let them serve under him. Rhea thinks about how it's a very interesting idea and wonders if they should really leave them there. The master says that after considering everything, he can't possibly take them with him, but promises that he will frequently pay them a visit in exchange for some information. Rhea thinks about how this is just what she expected of the master. The master thinks about how all the men are so handsome and he starts to feel envious. He thinks about how he cannot possibly support spending his daily life together with such handsome men under the same roof. He wonders what if the women in their group fall in love with them, and he would surely break from the shock. The rest of them tell him that they should probably go and look at the other spots, and they reach the ruins. Kanan talks about how there are many complaints there, to which the master says that she is right and that it is really okay for complaints to be there. Rhea tells him that they earned many advantages by working together with the new races, and that even though there are monsters, it's not uncommon at all. Rhea tells him that she used to work there during the excavation and that her late grandfather had spent his life studying humans. The master thinks about how, compared to him, who was struggling with a job that he didn't even like, Rhea really was amazing. They all begin to question her about the clothes that she used to wear, and as they approach the town, she asks if the master would like to try on some clothes. Even though she wants to see the master in new clothes, when he says no, she finally has to agree. The master notices many people passing by and thinks about how there are a lot of tourists there, and now that he thinks about it, it's been a while since he had spent any time alone outside of the hideout. Sightseeing with the girls was really amusing, but he really wants to have some alone time. He sees a card and decides to head over, but as he begins to walk towards it, he bumps into a girl who then falls onto the ground. He apologizes to her. The girl who has fallen down is a very mysterious and beautiful girl. Yuji holds out his hand and apologizes to her. He tells her that he has clearly done something very awful and asks her how he can make up for it, to which the girl assures him that he should not worry. Yuji wonders if he can teleport her to the hideout and thinks that he will wait for the other girls and then go back to the hideout to change his clothes. He pleads with her, expressing his desire to make up for it and pay for the damages, to which she asks if he is sure and thanks him. The girl leads him and says that her house is just a few minutes walk from there and asks if he would accompany her. She says that she had forgotten to introduce herself, and her name is Arisa, to which Yuji introduces himself. He thinks about how he would have liked to tell Rhea and everyone about what was happening beforehand, but considering her house is very near, he will come back quickly. He begins to walk with her and asks her if her house really is in the surroundings, to which she said that they will just be a minute. They begin to head inside the ruins, and he begins to wonder if she is really living there. She says they've arrived at the stand in front of two big gates. Yuji thinks about how the demon lord might be living there. She asks if he would mind opening the door for her. He asks her what she is planning to do and why she had taken him there. He tells her not to make a fool out of him and that he had seen enough of her tricks, and he knows that she is lying. As he begins to head out, saying that his friends are waiting for him and that he should get going, she comes up from behind and hugs him, apologizing again. He asks her to let go of him and says that she is being annoying, but she says that there is a good reason she did not tell him the truth and that she needs him to open the door at any cost. She tells him that it is a matter of life and death and begins to cry. He wonders if her situation really is as delicate as she is saying. He sits down on the ground and begins pleading to him. He thinks that maybe she is being used by someone else, and maybe there are bandits that want to make use of a beautiful human's abilities. He thinks about how the others may be looking for him while he is here, and that he should quickly end this and regroup with them. He thinks about how the door is weird and that it looks very sturdy and quite easy to open. As he enters, he sees a green light. Gray turns around and asks what he is doing there, to which he says that he needed to complete the experiments after all, and that she was right. Yuji thinks about how she probably planned all of this with Gray. Gray says that the problem was pretty easily resolved, and that this whole time he was wondering how to have Yuji pass through the door. Yuji realizes that only humans can open the door, and he had heard that it had currently been sealed away deep inside an ancient ruin. He realizes that the stone that Grace is standing in front of is actually the Ragnarok, the only thing that can kill him. Gray takes out the weapon and says that from now on, Yuji will become the god of this world. Gray guides the big dog and tells him to kill Yuji first. They both engage in a fight, and one of his hands gets broken off. He uses his healing powers and thinks about how he is not sure if he will even win or be able to get out. He thinks about how his daily life since he came into this world was in many ways quite fulfilling. When he was still working for a black company, his life was full of hardships and despair. But since he had come there, he was able to experience joy and happiness once more after he had met everyone in the group. He thinks about how he doesn't want to die, that he will survive at any cost, and that he wants to continue his current lifestyle together with Ria and with everyone. As he says this, Ria comes up from behind him. As Gray begins to leave, Harisa asks if he had failed again, to which he says that he now has the Ragnarok and that he can kill him anytime he wants. This chapter starts as Yuji realizes that was a close call, and all the girls tell him that they are so glad he is safe. He thinks about how he had gotten trapped by Gray and his accomplice and how Ria had used the teleportation device to come to his rescue. He thanks her, and they all ask him to tell them what had happened. After he tells them, they all say that they understand and ask if that means that Gray had gotten Ragnarok under his control. He apologizes and says that it's all his fault that he had gotten deceived by them. Sarah says that the situation is a little weird, almost like they knew that they would be going to the ruins today, and asks if he thinks the same thing, that they should determine where they got that information and find countermeasures. Kanon uses an ice needle and takes out a bat. She says that upon closer inspection, it is not her familiar. She says that someone had switched her bad familiar with another one without her knowing. She apologizes and says that it's surely her fault that they knew about their plans. Yuji says that there is nothing she could have done about it and asks if anyone has any idea what to do. Kanon says that the girl that he had met before was probably his older sister. He thinks about how now that he thinks about it, her figure and the color of her eyes had many points in common with Karan. He thinks about how they control Ragnarok, which means they are responsible for the extinction of the human race, and wonders what they are going to do. He says that on top of that, Grace's sister had become their enemy, and therefore it was hard. Misu appears, saying that she had heard about their conversation. She talks about Ragnarok's weak point, and that she thinks she's figured it out. She says that below the 4th floor is called the library area, and it has information from all around the world stored inside, and she's sure that they could find the weak points of Ragnarok in there. Sarah says that seems unrealistic, and the terminal is also an unrealistic thing if you think about it. Yuji says that since they don't have any other options, they should follow Misu's plan and move to the 4th floor after they change their clothes. Yuji tells Kanon that she doesn't have to follow them, as the knights might be upset with her. Sarah says that she shouldn't chase her away, as there is absolutely no way she could not participate in such an exciting mission. He thinks about how her real motivation is without a doubt getting her hands on human technology. They reach the final floor and stand in front of the door of the library. Yuji thinks about how this is their last and ultimate solution for finding a way to defeat Ragnarok. They open the door, and the entire interior is covered with snow. Yuji thinks about how it's so cold and the situation is quite unexpected, and they should come back after they put on some other clothes. After changing, Yuji thinks about how it's very warm, and Sarah says that she has put a warm air shell around their bodies that can last at least 4 hours. She says that they should feel free to count on her from now on, and that this world is not something she is new to. Yuji says that is amazing, and that he didn't realize she could do such a thing. Yuji wonders if he had just felt a chill running through his body. Kanon comments on how she is so envious and a cheater. After this, a fight ensues in which Kanon uses an icicle plate, which is countered with a burning bullet. Kanon says that they are really trying to compete with Sarah. She thinks about how this is the last floor, and there is really nothing to be afraid of. They think about how their advancement goes smoothly without any casualties. Sarah says that it's really weird that no matter how they look at it, they are just simple lumps of snow, and she wonders how they would be able to move. They reach a door far away and ask Yuji to look at it. As they reach the door, 2 girls welcome them to the door of the last trial. They say that they were waiting for their rivals and call them participants. Ria asks if they are columns that are guarding the floor, to which they say that indeed they are and apologize for the delay. They introduce themselves and tell Yuji that they are twin siblings. Yuji says that they had heard about this floor and that they had heard that it had all the information at the library area. He thinks about how they will be able to discover Ragnarok's weak points and asks them if they have to defeat the girls in order to get into their area. To which they say that they don't have to, that they already know about their abilities from the last trials. The girls tell them that they want to see which one of them will be worthy enough to be the labyrinth's Yuji. The master thinks about how this is a trial to judge his capabilities. The girl says that their trial will be different, and they want to see if he is worthy of being the labyrinth master. They tell him that the subordinates will go through the left door, and he, who will have his worth tested, will go through the right door. Before walking through the door, he walks over to Ria and tells her not to worry as he will be fine. He thinks about how he doesn't want to be separated. But he doesn't stand a chance against Ragnarok if he doesn't get into the library. He has to succeed no matter what. They realize that the two hallways are divided by a piece of glass. Ria asks him if there is anything different on his side, to which he says that there isn't. The girls tell him that he might have realized that the wall that separates the two of them is a little special, and its thickness changes according to the degree of trust between him and his subordinates. The glass became very thin because all of them deeply trust each other. He asks the twins what they are going to do, to which they say that they will show his subordinates the most painful memory that he has, something he doesn't want anyone to know about. If they still remain faithful to him after seeing the memory, it would be undeniable proof of their worth in becoming the labyrinth's master. He thinks about how he doesn't want them to see his past, but maybe it's time. He thinks about how Ria was disgusted after finding out a lot about him, and she will probably stay by his side. They all tell him that they will stick by him no matter what, and he says they should begin. He has a flashback to being inside a train, and Sarah wonders if all of the people around him are humans. He realizes the memory is about when his supervisor was criticizing him about his job. As time passed, his mental state had started to crumble, and he didn't even realize it. The master thinks about how the ice wall that separates the two chambers reflects their emotional state in real time, and they are probably disappointed in him. He begins to think that he is not a good person and that he does not deserve their respect. He thinks about how if it was anyone except him, they would probably also have the subordinates' respect. He realizes that the wall had become thick, and therefore he cannot understand what they were saying. He thinks that they probably despise him, and the girls say that it's finally time to face the consequences. The girls ask him if he wants to give up on the trial, to which he says that he has already lost everybody's trust. But before he can agree, the wall breaks and Ria comes and tells him that he should not give up. Several years ago, there was a village to the north of the capital called Norma, which was Ria's unknown past. She was abandoned and raised in a church near the village. She had always loved books and felt strangely at ease every time she started reading a book. In Alteria, religion was separated into two great cults, one that worshipped the creation of God and the other that created the world. The second one was the pillar of the current civilization, and it was the belief of the human race. Others wondered why they should worship it, but as time passed and summer ended, they entered a chilly autumn. Ria couldn't understand why she was so passionate about the gods, but she understood that what they said was true. One day, a dragon was coming, and in her heart, she naturally considered humans as family since she grew up without knowing her parents. She called out to the humans, but suddenly there was no noise anymore, and she began to wonder if everything was fine. Many years later, she learned that the church was originally a structure that the human race had built ages ago. Current buildings couldn't even compare to it in terms of durability. The church had protected her. That was when she decided to enroll in the night squad, as she wanted to explore ruins in different regions. Afterwards, she had experienced many other works when she left the village and learned about the human race from her adopted grandfather, who was a specialist in human studies. That's when she finally met Yuji, and perhaps she started following him around just because he was human. She thought about how Yuji had saved her from many dangerous situations and how he had always protected them. No matter what kind of past he had, she didn't care. She loved him. She broke through the wall, and Yuji wondered what had happened, thinking the glass had crumbled. Ria reached over and hugged Yuji, telling him that her feelings wouldn't change just because of what she had seen. Kanon said that she felt the same way. Sarah said that she was sure she was not the only one among the human army who saw Yuji as someone competent. She assured him not to worry, as it meant that everyone loved him despite his incompetence. Yuji asked if the wall had crumbled because they had all seen his incompetence and his true nature. Sarah explained that the ones disappointed by his true nature were on the other side, and this wall system was interactive. The girls told Yuji that he had got friends and that they believed he was the best human. Yuji wondered if this could be considered a victory. The twins congratulated him and said that from now on he was their Yuji. They told him he could use the library as much as he wanted to. As they returned to where they had started, they saw a desk with a computer on it, wondering if they would be able to find answers on it. The twins tell Yuji that they do not know how to use it, and he says that he understands. He taps on the button and turns it on. The twins think about how, even though they have tried for years to turn it on, they were unable to, and he had succeeded in the blink of an eye. He tries to act humble, but the girls tell him that he does not have to. He thinks about how, looking at how amazed they were right now, he could not say if he had just done something that only needed common knowledge. They will say they do not know how to use it. Yuji types in Ragnarok and realizes that no human is able to win against such a weapon, and there are no beings in this world capable of defeating it. He thinks about how this is absolutely insane. He realizes that a kind of natural switch is located inside every human being, and when a human decides to use his barber wrongly for his own interest, it triggers on and instantly kills that human. Serp says that the existence of the lethal factor helped a lot in avoiding friendly fire among them, but human civilization inevitably met its end because of Ragnarok. Rhea thinks about how if Ragnarok ends up inside Yuji's body, they would not be able to save him. He realizes that there is no chance they could beat the rock, and Yuji decides that he does not want to tell everyone about his plans just yet. Sarah says they should try other kinds of research on the engine, to which he thinks that she is right, and they need to see information to figure out if it is trustworthy or not. He types something related to Sarah, and Manshi approaches him and hits him. He asks Sarah if he had not seen what was on the screen, but he's going to assume that it was just worthy. Canon says that she wants to research something about Grace's name. They realize that if Yuji was successfully able to cast a healing spell on Gray, that without Gray's Ragnarok, it would not be able to be summoned, and that was their only chance of winning. A girl runs towards them, saying that she's glad she finally found them, and thinks about how since she hadn't come around in a while, she was afraid that they would think she was an intruder. Rose asks them if they are aware that the entire squad was in utter chaos when she had decided to leave. Sarah says that it's really troublesome, but that she was forcibly appointed as the captain. Yuji thinks about how he doesn't understand what's going on here, and Rose says the royal capital had fallen due to the invasion of the demons. He asks Yuji if he can help them. He thinks about how he needs to rectify his mistakes as he is the one who broke Ragnarok's seal. As they are running in the terminal area, Yuji says that he wants to say a resort or Gray's exact location, but that could be risky. They decide to teleport to the royal capital instead. They decide to leave together and try to stay alive and then get back there all together. As they get to the royal capital, they realize that the scene has turned into some kind of illustration coming straight from merciless hell. Yuji thinks about how this is awful and realizes that this is not the time to be afraid and has to attend. He realizes that he is the very reason the royal capital is in such a deplorable state right now. He realizes that he really needs to heal. Sarah says that he needs to focus on their priorities and that his job is to focus on defeating the guy they came here for. She says that casting healing magic won't do anything. Rhea tells them that this is his healing magic and that it is even able to revive the dead. Kanan wonders how, if that's true, then she wants to meet her mom. Rhea tells him that she can sense an evil magic power coming from the castle. The Yuji realizes that that means Gray could be inside the castle and says that they should go. Two of the soldiers approach Sarah and she asks them what they are doing there, as the royal capital is in chaos and the job of the night squad is to protect the town. Yuji thinks about how the guys have been affected by the evil relics that Gray uses, that they are no longer part of the night squad, and that there are 100 more fun things to do in the capital. Sarah apologizes on behalf of her squad and tells them that as their superior, she wants them to obey her orders. She says that it is time for them to rectify their subordinates' wrongdoings and tells Yuji to leave them behind and go ahead. As they approach the castle, Yuji realizes that the evil magic power is coming from upstairs. As they head inside, they see Arisa. Kanan and she greet each other, saying that it's been quite a while. She thinks about how there is nothing redeemable about him above his species and wonders what's so good about him. Kanan says that she can agree that he can be dumb sometimes and can be incompetent. She says that he is not worthless and that he is the one who saved her and gave her a place that she could call home. Arisa tells her that she has not changed at all and she's spouting nonsense just like she used to. She says that she had always hated it. She takes off her coat and begins to fly towards Kanan. They begin to fight, and Kanon tells Yuji that he should leave her behind and go ahead as she will take care of Arisa. She tells him to go and win and come back alive at any cost. Kanon begins to hit her sister and asks her why she is always like that. She says that it's due to the pity that she always shows her, then she deeply hates it. That the demon races are the most oversensitive about power among all these species. That their parents never loved her because she exhausted them. She says she wishes she was never born, and Kanon begins to wonder what the source of that deep twisted hatred is.